I scowl, stomp my foot, and instantly appear right in front of him, my hand clamping hard around his neck. He suffocates instantly. I tell him straight up I do not have time to play, so he can hand over the map or face the consequences. His men snap their guns up to aim at me, shouting his name in absolute panic. He is dripping in cold sweat, his eyes filled with pure terror. I was just too fast crossing 4 meters in a blink before he could even react. He throws his hands up, stammering for us to just talk things out. I do not even bother answering. Squeezing hard, I watch his face turn bright red as he claws at my grip, but my hand is an iron band that will not budge. I lift him up, his feet leaving the ground, as his struggles slowly die down. Suddenly, a muffled gunshot echoes behind me, and a bullet comes flying straight at my back. It was fired by one of his own men. Even while choking, General Gang hears the blast, and a dark thought flashes through his mind. Which of these bastards is trying to steal his throne? He knows he is absolutely finished. The yellow bullet glints in the sun, closing to within 3 meters of my back. But check this out, the air ripples, swallowing the bullet hole, leaving the shooter frozen and completely baffled. He rubs his eyes, frozen as a bullet suddenly swells right in front of him. It drills right through his forehead, blowing the back of his skull apart in a bloody spray before his body collapses to the dirt. The others watch him drop as pure panic rises in their chests, having no idea how he died or when I even fired. They do not know where the bullet went, or why their brother is the one bleeding out. Every mystery piles on more dread until their weapons feel heavy as lead. They stand frozen, unable to decide whether to fight or just drop their guns. Dropped to the dirt, General Gang gasps heavily for air, incredibly relieved to be alive. Not understanding what just happened, he instantly screams at his men to fire, telling them all to aim for my vitals. He wants the final blow for himself so he can make me beg for death. He assumes my sudden release was just a reflex from getting shot, which is why he dares to give the order. But no gunfire comes. Instead, I grab his throat again. I tell him if he wants to die, I will gladly grant his wish. Shivering, he looks up to see me completely unharmed as sheer terror grips him. He barely stammers out a couple of words before his neck snaps with a loud crack, and he goes limp. Just then, an icicle he had been secretly forming behind his back drops and clatters loudly on the ground. His secret trump card is completely useless now. Despite all his schemes, he never expected me to act so fast, giving him zero time to react or talk. A glowing blue orb rises from his corpse, revealing his hidden trait. I nudge it with my foot, and a freezing current rushes up my leg, giving me instant control over ice manipulation. Since my 4 main attributes do not move, I stop paying attention and turn my gaze toward his men. I tell them to send out their new leader. They tremble, finally snapping out of their shock. Panic is written all over their faces as they look from General Gang's corpse to my cold expression, everyone taking a step back when our eyes meet. Raising my voice, I tell them one last time that someone in charge needs to step forward. I instantly whip a Desert Eagle into my hand, making them all flinch back even further. Only one chubby guy fails to move. It is not out of courage, but simply because he is too slow. He just stands there, cursing the ancestors of everyone who backed away. I ask if he is the one making the calls now, and biting the bullet, he reluctantly says yes. His name is Pang Ho, though everyone calls him Little Tiger, and he tells me I can call him that as well. I tell him to relax, assuring him that I am actually a very gentle person. I mean, look at this. He glances down at General Gang's broken neck and his cheek twitches, obviously wondering if I even know what the word gentle means. I do not care what is going through his head. I give him exactly 30 minutes to deliver a map of the nearby villages, promising to leave once I get it, but warning him that if he fails, he can try resisting me. He is stunned that I do not want the village, only a map, asking if I am really serious about this. He never heard our talk, only seeing me move and General Gang drop, assuming I wanted to kill their leader and take over the group. The guy had no idea, I just wanted a scrap of parchment. Without a word, I whip out a stool from thin air and sit, telling him the clock is ticking. Pang Ho instantly wheels around, snapping at a guy named Monkey to bring out the map he was supposed to keep safe. Telling him to hurry the hell up, he watches as a thin, sharp-faced man fumbles with his shirt to pull out the parchment, which Pang Ho snatches and hands to me. Now, it is actually my turn to be caught off guard. I figured they would have to search for it, and that having more people look would make it faster, but they had it on them the entire time. What on earth was General Gang even fighting for then? If he had just handed it over, he would have saved himself so much trouble. Was he seriously that stubborn? I cast a sideways glance at General Gang's broken body, keeping my thoughts to myself. Grumbling aside, I grab the scroll, roll it open, scan it, and stand. Pretty decent, I tell Pang Ho. This is way more sensible than General Gang ever was. Now that I have the map, I am leaving, and he can keep his chair. I stomp my foot and vanish into a blur. Watching me disappear, Pang Ho mutters that I really just took off like that. He never thought anyone would actually fight through all this for a real map. Guess General Gang died for nothing. A lackey whispers that the refugees from the gate snuck into the village during the chaos, asking what they should do. Pang Ho looks at the panicked crowd, then glances down at General Gang's broken, twisted neck. He sighs and tells them to let it go. Keeping your head down is how you stay alive, and General Gang is proof of it. He orders his men to move into the village. They will count up the loot, split it fairly, and focus on surviving this dangerous zone together. I move fast, following the map toward my original target, Jucheon Village, specifically the old church on the hill. From what I remember, there is a massive church sitting on a mountain right near Jucheon Village. Inside that place lies a terrifying corpse king. Behind it is a huge graveyard crawling with endless zombies. Honestly, the biggest threat to Jucheon Village is right inside those walls. A graveyard right next to a church is a classic Western setup, usually built to keep the dead quiet in their graves. Pretty soon, I hit a wide river. It is easily over 10 meters across, nothing like that tiny stream from before. I summon the amphibious motorcycle I secured from the last zone and hop right onto the seat. Look at this, the headlights flash as I plunge straight into the river, and the bike instantly shifts to water mode on its own, transforming into a jet ski. I slam the throttle and tear upstream, leaving a massive white wake behind me. This is the path I mapped out earlier. The river is a longer route, but with a ride like this, it is the absolute fastest way to Jucheon Village. After 30 minutes on open water and flattening 2 flocks of ducks, 3 pythons, and 4 crocodiles, I finally reach the opposite bank. I pack up my ride, slip into the woods, and 20 minutes later, I am standing right outside the ruined church. The front doors are slightly open, the windows are boarded up, and with dark storm clouds swirling overhead, the creepy vibe is absolutely perfect. I kick the door wide open and walk right in. Easy confidence, plus it is broad daylight. The main hall is incredibly dark, despite the bright sunshine outside, thanks to those boarded up windows. Staring through the gloom, I can barely see a figure pinned to the back wall. It looks like a pale, incredibly thin man, bare-chested with a white cloth wrapped around his head, nailed to a massive cross. Oh, it is just a statue of Jesus. Totally harmless. I whip out my Gatling gun and start shredding all the boarded-up windows. Just a few seconds of heavy gunfire later, bright sunshine floods the entire hall. I stow the gun away, feeling satisfied. Now this is what a church should look like, sunlit and bright. Then, my eyes lock onto a coffin right below the cross, and I walk toward it. It is a Western-style casket, wide in the middle and narrow at the ends, with a big cross on the lid. This is not a sliding cover. You have to flip this one open. So, I take a few steps back, aim my Gatling gun, and just start blasting. Honestly, overly curious people always get killed first. I am not that stupid. Firepower first, questions later. Within seconds, the casket is completely shredded. Suddenly, with a terrifying roar that sounds halfway between a beast and a man, the lid flies open and a monster leaps out, only to face a wall of heavy bullets before it can even get mad. I take a second to scan it. It is just a standard zombie, 1-star mid-stage. Its traits are a white tier zombie body, blue tier bloodthirsty recovery, yellow olfactory perception, and a white tier energy resistance. This is pretty different. No blood tracking, but it has energy resistance instead. Must be due to a different birthplace. I keep firing until the thing is Swiss cheese, drops a trade orb, and I grab it. White tier energy resistance. A passive that cuts energy damage by 10%. Figuring this out makes me incredibly happy, because spells or abilities will all lose 10% of their power. If I upgrade it to gold, will I get total immunity? I can already picture myself standing untouched in a storm of elemental spells, completely unbothered like a massive mountain, taking Godzilla's atomic breath straight to the chest like a real Superman. My heart literally skips a beat just thinking about it. This skill's potential beats almost everything I have besides my pocket dimension. Shaking off the thought, I look around for other coffins and head down the corridor. Since it is daytime, the zombies are all fast asleep. That means no luring them into one giant pile. I have to find them one by one, which takes forever. Still, I have it way better than other players, who have to search entire mountains during the day just to find nothing. I use my foresight to walk straight into their nests and butcher them wholesale. Within 30 minutes, the church is completely clear. 30 zombies dead, and not a single mutated one among them. The strongest one was just waiting under the cross, leaving me pretty disappointed. This really does not add up. A massive gathering spot like this should have a commander or a corpse king. Instead, there is nothing but ordinary dead. Did the Corpse King skip town? If he is not in the church, then where is he? I keep searching, refusing to give up, but find no secret tunnels, no hidden rooms, nothing. Finally, I just give up and sit on the platform under the cross. I pull out my loot cards and start counting them. After all those kills, I only got 3 useless random items. Suddenly, loud footsteps echo from outside. A booming, dramatic voice yells that, according to his calculations, this church is overflowing with dark energy and must be packed with zombies. It is high noon. The voice shouts that the sun is at its peak and light energy is at its highest. The monsters are in a deep sleep, making this the perfect hour to strike. All those free points are just sitting right there, and it is up to them to grab as many as they can. He commands them to charge, and a crowd of nearly 30 people storms into the church, waving all kinds of weapons and roaring to kill the zombies. Leading them is a middle-aged man wearing a bright yellow Taoist robe with the 8 trigrams pattern. He is holding a special compass in his left hand and an old pistol in his right. He is clearly the speaker. They rush in and lock eyes with me sitting on the altar. Seriously, you could cut the tension here with a knife. I do not feel like chatting, so I cut straight to the point and tell them where to go. I tell them to check the graveyard out back because the church is empty. The Taoist looks completely stunned, shocked that his prime spot has already been cleared. But then he spots the 3 cards I am casually spinning around in my hand. Instantly, pure greed flashes in his eyes. Smiling, he asks if I cleared the entire place alone, and I just raise an eyebrow and ask him what he thinks. He quickly scans the entire hall and confirms there is nobody else. He realizes that anyone who can clear this place alone and grab 3 cards is dangerous. He performs a respectful gesture and formally introduces himself. He introduces himself as Sun Huiwan, a 93rd generation Maoshan disciple, greeting me as a peer. He asks which sect I belong to. Caught off guard, I quickly use my insight skill on him. Sun Huiwan has a mid-stage 1-star rating with 2 extractable traits, white-grade Taoist Genius and blue-grade Feng Shui Master. Despite having 2 traits, he has not awakened any special powers. Yet, his mid-stage 1-star physical strength easily surpasses that of a normal person. He is actually stronger than any power user I have met. This is abnormal, unless he is a hidden martial arts master. I narrow my eyes. Real masters do exist, but they are nothing like the ones in novels. Their general stats are only slightly above average, but in their specific fields, they completely outclass normal people, like Taoist arts and Feng Shui for priests. Or it could be fists and footwork for physical fighters, or even those deadly goo worms from the southern mountains. Once they enter this killing game, they adapt incredibly fast, rising to the top like fish in water. And this guy standing right before me is definitely one of them. Since I stay silent, Sun Huiwan frowns, assuming I am just an outsider. That makes his decision easy, and his friendly smile quickly fades away. In a cold voice, he claims they actually discovered this church first. They only waited to gather their group and clear it together, but I stole their prize right as they arrived. Since they wasted their time, he wants a little compensation. Like, are you actually serious right now? Turns out he is just a greedy fraud, completely ruining the image of his robe. I hold up the cards, asking if he wants them. Chuckling, he completely ignores my glare, keeping his eyes locked onto the cards. After all, what can I even do to him? With over 20 men backing him up, he has the numbers. Smiling, he says since I did not steal their prey on purpose, they can overlook it. If I simply hand over my cards right now, we can easily call it even. He adds that I should not feel cheated, since those zombie kills already padded my score quite nicely. After all, we are not in the real world, so if someone drops dead, nobody will ever investigate. Do I not agree? His smile stays, but his words are a clear threat. With so many men behind him, he definitely has the power to back it up. He raises his pistol, pointing it straight at me, and his crew follows suit. Staring down dozens of weapons, I actually feel a tiny bit of pressure, but only a tiny bit. Quietly, I tell him that I truly do not understand why so many people are this bad at reading the room. He just smiles, saying that people only learn their lesson after they pay the ultimate price. Since we are here, he pulls the trigger to finish me. Suddenly, a flash of blue light drives a thick ice spike straight into his forehead. Blood streams down his face. His eyes are wide with sheer terror and denial, but it is useless. His fading body goes completely limp as his mind starts to fray. With his very last breath, his finger twitches on the trigger, firing a single round into the air. He glares at me with pure hatred, wanting nothing more than to drag me down to hell with him. But his final sight is his bullet vanishing just half a meter before my face. Everything went down way too fast. The thugs he brought along did not even have time to register what happened. They just stare at Sun Huiwan dead on the floor in absolute shock. Actually, They are staring at the sharp ice spike hovering right behind me. Someone screams that I am an awakened power user and shouts for everyone to run. The entire crowd panics and runs. Sun Hui-wan was the only one with a gun, and he went down instantly. What can guys with simple machetes even do? Right as they reach the main doors, I blur across the room and block the exit. I draw my Desert Eagle and deliver a line so corny you just have to laugh. I tell them they are surrounded by me, and it actually works. Their new leader collapses as his legs give out. A minute later, the whole gang scatters deeper into the church to start searching. I spared their lives for now, since some free manual labor is exactly what I need. I need to know if there is a hidden passage down here, otherwise it will drive me crazy. I drag a wooden chair over to the entrance and soak up some sun while waiting for them. While they look, I decide to check out the 2 new traits I just unlocked. Taoist art genius at white tier makes me learn techniques way faster than normal folks. Blue tier feng shui master gives me real, deep expertise in the spiritual arts. Definitely enough to call myself a master. A voice yells from deep inside the church that they found something. I am up and through the doors before the sound even fades. They are huddled right under the wooden cross. Shoving my way past, I see an old, broken coffin pushed off its platform. Right underneath where it sat, there is a dark hole angling straight down. My cheek twitches with annoyance. I sat in this exact spot the whole time and completely missed the false bottom under those rotted floorboards. One guy asks me, looking pretty hopeful, if this counts and if they can finally go. I tell them sure, but there are way too many of you. Pick 6 people to leave. They might be small fry, but they are all grown adults who chose their path. Every choice has a price, and they should have waited first. Another guy tries to speak up, reminding me of my promise to let him go free. I shoot him dead before he can even finish his sentence. As he collapses backward into the dirt, I look at the rest and tell them I am done wasting my breath. You have exactly 1 minute to pick those 6 survivors, or nobody gets to leave this place alive. Grief washes over them as they look at the fresh corpse cooling on the ground. Then, that grief turns into something much uglier. Suddenly, a man screams the name Ju the Third, clutches his bleeding chest, and drops dead. It looks like Ju the Third decided that murder was a fair price for a ticket out. The killer mutters that he is sorry, but he just wants to live. His wife and kids are waiting for him back in the real world. A heavy wooden club swings out from the crowd, cracking his skull open before he can even finish his pathetic excuse. And just like that, the church hall turns into an absolute bloodbath. Get this, they start tearing each other apart for those 6 spots, while some try to sneak down the tunnel, and I pick off every single runner with a clean shot. 5 minutes later, only 3 guys are left standing. They are covered in blood, their faces completely battered. I asked for 6, but they fought so brutally that only 3 survived. One of them wheezes that since there are only 3 now, they can surely leave. I coldly remind him that my 1-minute time limit expired long ago. 3 sharp ice spikes fly from my hand, burying themselves deep in their foreheads. The remaining survivors collapse to the floor, full of regret. I just watch their lifeless bodies with a cold gaze. If they had just worked together and picked 6, I actually would have let them walk away. But honestly, not a single one of them was worth keeping. So finishing them off was just much cleaner. Now, I am completely alone in the church. I grab my laser sword and head down into the pitch-black tunnel. I pull out a heavy flashlight while activating my enhanced perception, layering it over my super hearing. Any movement down here, no matter how tiny, will give away its position instantly. The path is roughly 5 meters wide, paved in damp, blue bricks that curve downward. It looks like it leads straight into the deepest parts of the earth. Keeping my pace steady, I travel about 100 meters past a sharp bend until a wide chamber lit by a soft glow appears. I halt immediately, spotting several glowing beads embedded right into the ceiling. Every single one is radiating a faint, eerie light. Using my eye of insight on them, the information is pretty scarce. Just a name, Yin Shade Pearl, with a 2-star rating and 0 traits to steal, but that's plenty. A 2-star rating is a clear sign that these are valuable natural treasures, the rare kind that the killing space spawns into these dungeons right alongside the monsters. They basically work like cards. You can find and use them on the spot, carry them out, or cash them in for killing value when you leave. A 1-star treasure trades for 300 killing value, a 2-star for 600, and a 3-star for 900. The higher the star, the fatter the payout. 4 of these Yin Shade Pearls are hanging in the corners of this cave. That is 2,400 killing value sitting right above my head. Talk about free money. To most other survivors out there, this would be a fortune worth crying over. For me, it is just a nice little bonus. I have to force myself to calm down because this place might totally cave in the moment I grab them. Those pearls are not going anywhere. First things first, And right now, that means dealing with this creepy mess of coffins packed in here. Dozens of them, all different sizes, standing completely upright. The one that catches my eye is sitting dead center. It is way larger than the rest. Silver white all over with these pretty fine patterns worked right into the surface, looking for lack of a better word, incredibly expensive. My honest first reaction, and here is where things go from creepy to straight up chaotic. Every single coffin my flashlight touches starts shivering as the lids pop open, and that massive silver box begins to slide back, and my eyes lock onto it. What slowly rises into view is an outfit I recognize on sight, a black trench coat with a stand-up collar, red lining, and gold piping down the seams. That is a vampire costume if I have ever seen one. Did I wander onto the wrong movie set? Or is this some weird cosplay? Maybe a real Chinese-style horror monster could not pass the censors, so they went Western to make it easier. I keep that complaint to myself, but my hands are already moving. Golden light wakes up in my eyes as I scan this thing. It is a mutated zombie, combat rating 2 stars mid-stage, 4 traits available to strip. Zombie body is yellow, bloodthirsty recovery is blue, super speed is blue, and energy resistance is yellow. One quick look and I have confirmed it. This is the exact corpse I came down here for, so I stop holding back. A quick twist of my wrist, and the Vulcan Gatling makes its grand entrance right out of my dimensional space, and I take 2 steps back to the mouth of the passage before opening fire. A devastating storm of hot metal suddenly blooms in the underground darkness. Blazing tongues of fire spit endless streams of golden light hammering forward, and where those bullets hit, they tear the coffins and the rotting corpses alike into absolute shreds. Holding this Gatling, I feel completely untouchable. This kind of heavy firepower is like a razor in these early zones, though I know it will not bite as hard in the next stage. A worry for later. For now, just farm and be happy. Kill notices start stacking up, one common zombie after another for a single killing value each. I let them scroll past because most of my focus is on that fancy costumed corpse. You are in a Chinese horror setting but still dress up in Western clothes. Seriously, if I do not take it out first, who else am I going to kill? I gave that specific monster special attention right from the start. I aimed the entire opening burst directly at its lower body and legs. Super speed is a pretty scary trait, but let us be real, you cannot run when your legs are completely gone. Enemy speed burned me once before, and I decided a long time ago I would never let that happen again. So, I crippled its main advantage first. Since I attacked so fast, the costumed corpse never even got to react. Its lower body just shattered under the metal storm. Its legs were torn right out from under it, sending it crashing down flat. Then, one by one, the other zombies started shuffling in front of it to block my view. A wall of wood and flesh, shielding the leader behind them. But absolutely no wooden wall or flesh wall stands a chance against 6,000 rounds a minute. The ones rushing forward immediately turn into sieves as I sweep the gun left and right, and not a single living corpse gets anywhere near me. That is basically how things go. 10 minutes of absolute chaos, and I pull the Gatling back to shake out my hands, completely numb from the heavy vibration, and look over the aftermath. Splintered wood, shredded corpses, black blood splattered everywhere, and a massive pile of mangled meat sitting right in the center. That costumed corpse is definitely buried somewhere inside that mound. Since there is no kill notice yet, it is still breathing. The system is not pinging for the mutated zombie, which means it is still alive under that pile, stubborn as hell and refusing to come out. So, I think about it for a second, and a pitch-black, barrel-shaped weapon settles right into my grip. A shoulder-mounted rocket launcher, saved from the previous zone and kept in my dimensional space for this exact moment. Time to blow this meat pile wide open, but then I think twice, put the launcher back, and pull out 3 high-explosive grenades. More handy leftovers from my last run. That rocket launcher might actually bring this entire basement ceiling crashing down on my head, and burying myself would completely ruin my day. Grenades make a smaller mess, and 3 are plenty. I pull the pins and toss them. The explosions rock this underground cave 3 separate times. Dust rains down, completely blinding me for a brief second, and when the smoke clears, a huge chunk of that pile is just gone. A slow grin starts spreading across my face. 2 more loud roars echo as rocks begin tumbling from the ceiling, and then, the system notification finally drops. A special mutated zombie is dead, granting 200 killing value. My mouth twitches. That's really it? I had braced myself for some crazy hidden trick, only for it to end just like that. Talk about an anticlimax. Facing a Gatling gun, grenades, and a rocket launcher waiting in reserve, even the grandfather of all zombies would have been forced to kneel. Honestly, nobody desecrates a corpse quite like this. It wasn't actually weak. I was just way too shameless to give it a fair fight. But wait, watch this 10 minutes later, the whole church groans, collapsing yards into the ground. Then, a dirty hand claws up from the rubble. It's mine. I crawl out absolutely covered in dust, all my cool composure completely gone. I'm muttering that I knew it, and thank heaven I've got copper skin, iron bones, and super speed. I reach deep back into the wreckage, and a faintly glowing yin shade pearl drops into my palm. Which is exactly why the church collapsed, because I stole it. Despite being filthy, this run is a massive haul. Once clear of the ruins, I sit in an open spot, grinning as I count my loot. 8 cards here, plus 3 from before, making 11. Added to the 38 I swiped from the ancestral hall, that's 49 cards total, plus 4 2-star pearls. My killing value is at 5,186, and my stats are looking pretty sweet. Strength 59, Constitution 51, Speed 76, Spirit 56. That's because my speed trait got swapped for the costume corpse's blue tier super speed, boosting me by 10 points of speed alone. My energy resistance also leveled up, doubling its damage reduction from 1/10 to 1/5. Just as I figured, this trait has serious potential. It is definitely something I want to max out completely down the line. With 9 upgrade points left, I hesitate before deciding to stop hoarding and just splurge. I originally planned to save them all until this pocket space finally closed, but the messy mix of colors on my trait screen is triggering my OCD. I just can't stand looking at it. If it itches, you've got to scratch it. I'd have to upgrade eventually anyway, so why wait? Energy resistance jumps from yellow to blue for 2 points, leaving me with 7. Copper skin iron bones goes blue for 2, leaving 5. Dimensional space goes blue for 2, leaving 3. Upgrading white to yellow costs 1 point, yellow to blue is 2, and blue to purple is 4. Purple to red is 8, and red to gold is 16. Clearly, the deeper the color, the steeper the climb. But blue energy resistance now blocks 30% of damage. At blue, copper skin iron bones hardens my body so much that ordinary gunfire cannot hurt me. Blue tier dimensional space gives me a 20 cubic meter pocket that can actually hold living creatures for up to a minute. Looking at that beautiful row of blue, my mind finally settles. None of these 3 upgrades was a random pick. 2 traits are for pure survival, and 1 is for independence. Together, they form my perfect foundation. Energy resistance paired with copper skin iron bones is perfect for my current situation. Maxed out to gold, these 2 would let me run wild anywhere. Dimensional space is my actual signature gift, so it had to be upgraded. By the time I finish, it's around 4 p.m. I pull myself up and head straight back to Dung Dung Village. Night is quickly closing in. It is way too late to find another village to grind, but Dung Dung will be lively. A massive wave of killing value is ready for harvest. I get back to Dung Dung Village right at sunset, and honestly, the welcoming committee is already waiting. Pang Ho immediately steps up to try and curry favor with me. It is not like he wants to, but this village is tiny, and we are bound to keep bumping into each other. So, he figures he might as well play nice, make some casual conversation, and hopefully score a few brownie points. Handing me a cup of water, he asks in a very quiet voice if I've brought back anything dangerous that needs handling, desperately trying to help ease my worries. Since the sun isn't totally down yet and he's acting so smart, I don't mind pointing him in the right direction. I tell him that the forests surrounding the village have both been completely burned down, meaning tonight is not going to be peaceful. He looks confused for a second, then it clicks, and his face drains of all color. Suddenly, he grabs my leg and begs me to save him. Pang Ho isn't stupid. No one had spelled it out for him before, so he hadn't made the connection. But now, he grasps exactly how terrifying his situation is. Zombies are about to surround the village. Had he realized this earlier, he could have run to the mountains to hide. But with the sun already down, stepping into those dark woods now is basically marching straight into a massive army of the undead, and he'd end up dead before he even realized what hit him. He also figures I must have a solution, otherwise why would I return so late? To survive, begging me is his only option. Honestly, I respect him a little more for realizing that. The chubby guy has some brains. I tell him I need a real reason. I am no saint filled with mercy, so why should I protect him for free? Still, since he is behaving so sensibly, I don't mind giving him one chance. Whether he takes it is entirely up to him. He thinks it through and finally understands. After a brief pause, he takes a deep breath and names his price 10 million to buy his own life. It is his only playing card, and while money cannot solve everything, it makes a solid stepping stone. I look him over, slightly surprised, and ask if his family is loaded. He hesitates, then nods, saying his name is Pang Ho and Pang's real estate is their family business. That makes total sense. Pang's real estate is famous all over the province, so 10 million is not surprising. Seeing me go completely silent, he panics, grits his teeth, and throws in another 5 million, 15 million, desperately insisting that 15 is absolutely the most he can scrape together. You see, Pang's is a joint stock company with a board, and transferring anything over 10 million requires board approval. He begins begging me to just name a number, but before he can even finish, I tell him coldly that 30 million guarantees his survival. I came here to kill zombies anyway, and saving him is just a side task. There is no reason to turn down a 30 million service fee. He gasps, his face twitching, because 30 million is a massive blow to his wallet. But under my cold, deadpan glare, he realizes there is no room to bargain. After a tense silence, he grinds out that we have a deal. Better to save his skin first, since a dead man cannot spend cash in the afterlife. Then, almost by reflex, he adds that the money can only change hands once we escape this zone. And right here you can literally see the instant regret hit him. He looks ready to slap himself, terrified I will think he is trying to back out on the payment. I simply nod to show I understand. Honestly, I was never worried about him running away from his debt. I have not even used blood tracking yet, so if he dares to cross me, I will make him vanish. Nobody gets away with owing me money. He asks Lua what his next move should be, and I keep my demands simple, his real-world contact number, a single drop of blood, and I tell him to look for the name Yuan once we escape. 15 minutes later, I follow him to a structure in the village. When the door swings open, it is not a home at all, but a dark tunnel sloping deep down into the earth. He explains that it is an old underground granary, which he stumbled upon entirely by accident. It goes down a few meters into a tight shelter, packed with tons of stored grain. In other words, a local granary, now officially claimed by me. Not bad at all, I comment. The location is perfect, since defending the narrow entrance is incredibly easy. I am very satisfied. I had only thrown out a casual question, never expecting him to actually find a fortress this easy to hold and impossible to overrun. It is a genuine surprise. Sure, I came here to hunt monsters, but the village is completely surrounded on every single side. Getting hit from both the front and back is bound to happen, so having a bunker where I only need to guard one entrance is incredibly useful. He asks what our plan is now, and I turn to tell him in a perfectly calm voice that he should just rest. He immediately freezes, his face pale with horror, begging me not to kill him because he has money. Before he can even finish his sentence, he feels a sharp pinch at the base of his neck. His vision goes dark, and he collapses. I pull my hand back, muttering to myself that there was absolutely no reason for all that theater. Honestly, I just did not want him watching how I slaughter these beasts. I lift him up and carry him deep inside the cave. A minute later, I return to the entrance, holding the very last of the 3-flower light blood. Instantly, the heavy scent of blood drifts up into the cold night air, spreading out in all directions. I mount my massive Gatling gun onto its stand and wait in dead silence. By now, every remaining survivor in Dung Dung Village knows exactly what is coming tonight. After getting my permission, Pang Ho posted a warning in the public chat channel to alert his close friends, and the news quickly spread to everyone else. I did not bother to stop him. I might not be some savior, but I am not completely heartless either. Facing the oncoming disaster, everyone makes their own choice with a heavy heart. Most choose to flee, betting they can survive as long as they do not run straight into the massive horde. Others set up tactical ambushes throughout the streets, viewing this crisis as a prime opportunity to farm valuable killing points. They plan to wipe out as many monsters as possible, hoping that even if they cannot halt the tide, they can hide and survive. These basic zombies have obvious weak points, otherwise nobody would dare stay behind. Tonight, the dark moon rises as the freezing wind begins to howl. As the bloodthirsty monsters break loose from their cages, the brutal war between the living and the dead officially begins. Along the borders of Dung Dung Village, dark, hopping silhouettes begin emerging one after another as the massive clash of survival unfolds. As the waves of undead swarm the area, the streets erupt with noise, not the sound of gunfire, but trigger traps, collapsing structures, and heavy snares laid by the survivors. At first, they actually manage to secure a ton of kills, and the players cheer in excitement because each zombie is worth 2 points, and one solid trap can snag 5 at once. It is their very first taste of easily farming monster hordes for points. But check this out, they quickly notice something bizarre. The monsters are ignoring them completely, rushing toward one specific spot as if drawn by a magnet. That makes them even happier as they comfortably settle down along the outer borders. They happily hunt down small packs of 3 to 5, while the curious players who try to follow the horde quickly retreat the moment they see the overwhelming swarm ahead. Gunfire erupts from the dark cellar, pulling in a massive horde of flesh-eaters. Drawn by blood, they drop like harvested wheat, completely blanketing the ground outside in a carpet of dead bodies. Glowing cards drop everywhere, and the split second I lay eyes on them, they vanish. Sucked directly into my inventory from 10 meters away, thanks to my upgraded dimensional space. I do not even have to step outside to sweep up every single item in that zone with a thought. This relentless slaughter goes on for hours, ending only when the very last monster finally drops. Maybe the entire neighborhood is wiped clean, or that 3-flower light blood scent finally faded away. The stream finally stops. I rub my sore hands to tally my haul. 87 new cards, plus my previous 49, makes 136. My killing value just surged past 21,000. Other survivors would absolutely spit on me if they heard me complaining about a hard day of work. Complaining after getting 20,000 points in one day. Why not just demand the entire sky while I am at it? Anyone else would be crying tears of joy. Shrugging it off, I slip back inside to set up a table. I summon a massive feast of hot, steaming food. It has been a brutally long day, and I need a real meal. As the delicious aroma fills the dark room, a weak, raspy voice suddenly croaks from the corner. He is actually still breathing. The smell of actual food woke Pang Ho up. He groans, stretching out a painful ache in his stiff neck. He shoots me a highly annoyed look, muttering that I should really give him a warning next time. I completely ignore his whining. Without even turning my head, I flatly remind him that I saved his life, so he had better not try to dodge paying me. The guy is totally confused. He took a nap, the danger cleared, and my clothes do not have a single speck of dirt. He mutters that I surely did not just hide down here all night, because if I did, his hard-earned money was a total waste. He cautiously asks how things look outside. I tell him it is safe and he can check for himself, right before taking a slow sip of chicken soup. Then, his stomach rumbles loudly. The smell makes him starving. He creeps over to my table with zero shame, and his eyes completely bug out at my meal. He asks where I got it. I slowly lower my chopsticks, look him dead in the eye, and ask if he genuinely wants to know. He starts to nod, but locks eyes with me. A cold shiver runs down his spine. He immediately backtracks, swearing on his ancestors that he is not curious in the slightest. That cracks me up, so I tell him he is making a very smart choice. He sighs, lets go of his hunger, and runs upstairs to check. He steps outside, looks around under the moonlight, and instantly freezes. Shredded bodies cover the ground, with severed limbs scattered everywhere. Not a single intact corpse, just endless rivers of black blood. A soft city kid who has never seen real violence. He turns his head and immediately pukes. 5 minutes later, he stumbles back down, pale as a ghost. I ask if he got his money's worth. I ask if he wants to grab a bite. His face goes green, his stomach churns, and he bolts back upstairs absolutely terrified. I might end his life if he pukes near my dinner. A smirk plays on my lips. I did this on purpose, just to leave an unforgettable scar on his memory. Now, whenever he thinks about skipping out on his debt, those butchered bodies are going to haunt his mind. Pang Ho throws up 3 more times, until his stomach is completely empty, and he is dry heaving on the floor. He finally crawls back and collapses in a corner, looking like he literally lost 5 pounds from vomiting so hard. Can vomiting really make someone skinny that fast? But hey, a brand new day is starting, and you know what that means. The system screen blinks with my second day quest. I need to reach Mozan village before the day ends. Right on schedule. The further I go, the more these quests stack up, and they are a double-edged sword. At least the rewards are decent. 100 killing points for day 1, 200 for day 2, and it keeps scaling up from there. The catch is the sheer randomness. For an overpowered player like me, these chores just drag down my kill rate. I could ignore them, but that drops my final rating. And the massive gap between an A rank and an S rank settlement is just too big to swallow. Besides, Mozan village was already on my radar. If I remember correctly, a high-level zombie ancient tomb is hidden nearby. Pang Ho croaks from his corner, whining that his quest updated too. When I ask him what it is, he says he has to steal pajamas off 10 zombies. My cheek twitches as I go dead silent. That is a seriously gross quest, but I have to admit it is incredibly easy. He basically just has to step outside and strip some dead bodies. For a second, I feel a bit bleak, wondering if my entire luck reserve was completely drained just to get that yin shade pearl. He cheerfully asks, wanting to know my quest, and if it is easy, completely oblivious to the fact he is walking into a trap. My eye twitches, so I just smile and say it is fine. I tell him there are plenty of minced zombies outside, so he should find a whole one to strip later. He immediately pictures it, the piles of shredded zombie meat and the pants he has to peel off them. His stomach completely turns, and he wheels around to dry heave. Seeing that actually cheers me up a bit. Turns out, happiness really is built on other people's misery. With the job done and my stomach full, I stand up and prepare to leave. I tell him everything here is his problem now, because I am leaving. I warn him to have my money ready when he gets out, assuming he does not want to cheat me. He suddenly stops gagging, rushes over, and asks how to contact me. I just wave, telling him to wait for my call later, before vanishing right out of the cellar entrance. I walk all the way to the village entrance without fighting once. And not for lack of monsters either. Groups of villagers keep jumping out of nowhere to steal my kills. After my night of absolute slaughter, zombies have become the hottest commodity in Dumb-Doing Village. Everyone rode my coattails, they survived, and now they are happily hunting down the dead. And honestly, who wants to fight a whole crowd for scraps? So I leave this place behind and set off for Mosin Village. A mutated zombie is definitely waiting in that ancient tomb. I have to take the river again because it is easily the fastest route. Since people need water to survive, all 9 great villages sit right along the waterways, just at different distances. Deep in the forest, a man and a woman run hand in hand, completely panicked. 5 zombies are hopping right behind them, maybe 30 meters back. Suddenly, her foot sinks into something soft, her leg buckles, and she goes crashing down. The man grabs her waist to hold her up, his face pale with pure terror. He frantically asks her what is wrong, and Sister Ran begs through the pain. She has sprained her ankle, and she does not want to die. They only met yesterday, but sometimes, a single look is all it really takes. He became her only hope, the one she chose to depend on. Meanwhile, he curses under his breath. They were almost safe when this nightmare had to happen. The heavy thuds of the hopping dead get closer, echoing through the quiet woods like a death sentence. His face twists. Then, gritting his teeth, he tells Sister Rand to hold her breath. He is going to lure them away. She cannot run, and if he tries to carry her, they will both get caught. Instead of both of them dying right here, he will draw the horde away so they might actually survive. Crying, she calls out to Brother Gang. He tells her to shut up and keep holding her breath before standing up and stepping away. The lead zombie is already right next to her. She freezes and holds her breath while he runs, yelling at the monsters to follow him instead. The creature sniffs the air, ignores her, and hops after the shouting man with the rest of the pack following. But the very last zombie lingers by her side, sniffing around. Its tiny, decayed brain thinks something is wrong. 2 meals somehow turned into 1, but since the food is moving away, it stops thinking and bounds after the pack. Once the final monster disappears into the trees, she holds her breath for another dozen seconds before letting out a massive gasp. After catching her breath, she just stands right up. Watching him run from the dead, she whispers that he shouldn't blame her. Talk about a complete villain move. She actually believes his love means he should die for her, promising to remember him. If he somehow survives, she tells herself she will still be his Sister Ran. Then, she walks quickly toward the edge of the woods. There is absolutely no sprain in her step. She walks carefully for 10 minutes until she feels a weird sensation on her neck. When she reaches up to scratch it, her fingers do not touch skin, they touch cold, hard scales. Before she can even process it, a sharp pain shoots through her hand. She screams loudly, as a slender black shape drops to the dirt. A snake. 2 bloody bite marks stand out on the back of her hand. Having lived in the city, she rarely ever saw one. She has no clue if it is venomous, if she is poisoned, or if she is going to die. She worries if this is one of those deadly snakes that kills you within 5 steps. Suddenly, a hopping sound echoes from the distance. She spins around to see a dark shape bounding toward her, attracted by her scream. Forgetting the 5-step rule completely, she curses and starts running. The zombie behind her speeds up, thrilled to hunt. 1 human, 1 corpse, a wild chase. After a couple of minutes, the trees finally clear to reveal a wide river, and absolute joy washes over her face. She sprints to the bank and plunges into the water. When she surfaces, she sees the zombie hesitating at the edge, making her feel temporarily safe. Since the venom has not kicked in yet, it was not that instant kill kind. She still has some time, so she begins swimming downstream. A dozen meters down, she suddenly hears an engine. She thinks she is hallucinating. There is no way a boat is out here, but the roar only gets louder, closing in fast. She turns her head in sheer disbelief as a white jet ski comes tearing straight toward her. She tries to dodge. Too late. The jet ski jolts hard. I grip the handlebars, look back, and see absolutely nothing. I just mutter about running over another damn thing. No clue if that was a croc or a python. This is what, the 3rd wave now? Driving one of these in the dark is genuinely dangerous. I hit the throttle, the engine roars to life, and I blast straight up the channel. Once the water calms, a dark, human-like shape drifts face down to the top. A second later, a massive shadow passes right beneath it. The body jerks, dragged down, vanished. Yeah, monsters are definitely not the only danger in this hellhole. I speed forward, and the moment I reach Mosin Village, my system pings. Day 2 basic task complete, find Mosin Village. 200 killing points rewarded. The village is completely dark, without a single zombie around. I wonder if the name alone terrifies them. I do not plan on entering, since I only care about my actual destination. But as I turn, a gunshot rings out and hits my shoulder. The impact makes me tilt sideways, pure instinct. Then a bullet falls to the dirt with a tiny metallic ding. My gaze turns instantly ice cold. I did not even have time to open my dimensional storage. If I had not upgraded to copper skin and iron bones, that ordinary round would have definitely made me bleed. A first for me. Ever since my rebirth, nobody has ambushed me. I know it is a human shooter for one simple reason: no decaying zombie finger could ever pull a trigger. A second shot flies right at my face, but I am ready now. The bullet instantly vanishes mid-air, absorbed right into my dimensional space. My super smell kicks in, locating the gunman instantly. He is lying flat on a tiled roof, watching me. I narrow my eyes. The air ripples right next to him. Suddenly, a bullet appears out of thin air and drills straight into his shoulder. He shrieks, falling. I teleport right to his landing spot before he hits the ground. He stammers, asking if I am a ghost or a man. I ignore his panic, squeeze my hand around his throat, and growl out, "Why did you try to kill me?" He gasps that he thought I was a zombie. "Just for that?" I ask, choking him harder. He begs for mercy, swearing that was the only reason. I squeeze harder until his breath completely stops. I loot his body without a single shred of guilt, because I do not believe his lies. Shooting before he even knew what I was means he did not care. A guy walking normally up to a village is obviously not a brainless, hopping monster. It is completely obvious at first glance. He shot to kill anyway. Had it been anyone else tonight? Dead. My search turns up a food card, which instantly makes me feel better since it is worth 100 killing points. I head out. I take down quite a few zombies on my path before stopping at a valley entrance. Honestly, this feng shui system is actually pretty useful. By simply reading the mountains, I managed to track down a valley absolutely teeming with dark yin energy. I only knew about an ancient tomb located somewhere around Mosin Village, but I never had the precise location. But look at that, after some smart deduction and feng shui mapping, I finally found it. There are no useless skills, only the wrong situations. I unsheath my laser sword and step right inside. The ground is littered with open coffin lids, all of them completely empty. Their owners are currently out hunting for fresh blood, only returning to sleep at sunrise. As I go deeper, the coffins multiply, though I only encounter a few scattered zombies. Finally, I reach the dark mouth of a massive tomb, completely pitch black. I stand at my target, but I do not go in. I store my sword, pull out a massive Gatling gun, and stand guard at the entrance because the sky is about to brighten. The monsters that left their cages will be heading back home. Instead of hunting them in there, I will just let them come to me. I throw down some bloody bait raw chicken, mutton, and a wild boar I killed earlier that still holds its blood. It is not alive, but the thick scent of fresh blood will definitely lure them right to me. Too bad I am out of 3 flower light blood, which would have made this easier. With everything set, I wait for the dead to head home. After waiting for 2 hours, the morning sun finally rises, and the exact horde I wanted shows up. Heavy gunfire echoes across the entire valley for 30 minutes. When it finally stops, my killing score jumps past 32,000 points. There are no mutated bosses in this wave, meaning the alpha is probably still inside. I pack up the gun and enter with my sword. The tomb is small, consisting of a corridor that leads into a wide main chamber. Inside, a dark gold coffin hangs mid-air, bound by thick chains running straight up to the ceiling. Dozens of smaller chains wrap tightly around the box. That explains why this monster never escaped. Tied up like that, it would be an absolute miracle if it managed to get out. Well, since it is stuck, I will gladly help. I set my sword down, aim properly, and bring out my absolute favorite weapon, the heavy Gatling gun. Take this. Armor-piercing rounds shred the air, clanging hard against the coffin as the heavy chains binding it snap first. Yet against the box, the heavy rounds do absolutely nothing, sinking only slightly before halting, bullet tails sticking out as if mocking my weapon. Something is wrong with this box. Ceasing fire, a golden glow flares in my eyes, revealing its identity, the mystic metal coffin, a 2-star treasure. No traits to copy. As expected, it is just another decent 2-star natural treasure. Although I have never once heard of mystic metal, it is clearly some sort of reinforced alloy. Staring at the completely undamaged container, I pause for 2 seconds before adjusting my aim. No more shooting at the box, I will target the hanging supports instead. If the lid will not break, the shackles will. Even mystic metal chains have their breaking points. With a sharp crack, one corner buckles, tilting the weight. The remaining links snap in a rapid chain reaction, letting the massive structure plummet and slam upright onto the stone floor. The heavy cover hits the ground, bouncing up slightly before leaning forward, completely unchecked with its iron restraints now utterly shattered. The front panel crashes down. Before I can inspect the interior, a massive wave of ancient dust erupts, forcing me to shield my face and retreat. As the smoke clears, a crimson shape appears. Inside is a woman in bright red. Her eyes are tightly shut. My own widen instantly, because unlike those other hideous, rotting ghouls, she still looks human. Surprisingly gorgeous, actually, just with an unnaturally pale complexion. Does this monstrous virus choose its victims by gender? Men turn into ugly monsters while the women keep their human looks. Is this virus just biased, or is it copying some sort of succubus? Right in the middle of my thoughts, her pale green eyes snap open, locking straight onto mine. Jagged fangs bare as her gorgeous features twist into pure, terrifying horror. Okay, scratch that. Pretty my foot. A monster is still a monster, but I quickly scan her anyway. She is a mutated zombie, ranked at early 2 stars, with 4 traits up for grabs. There is purple zombie toxic body, white bloodthirsty recovery, yellow olfactory tracking, and blue complete poison immunity. My breath hitches. A purple rank trait is finally right here before my eyes. That toxic trait means every single part of her is lethal. No wonder she looks decent. She must have concentrated all the rot into her venomous core. Talk about wanting to stay gorgeous even after dying. I definitely have no use for a toxic corpse body, but that other skill looks incredibly tempting. Complete poison immunity, my old dream is finally within reach. Hissing out a single command die, she instantly transforms into a scarlet blur charging straight at me. She is ridiculously fast, way faster than my current speed. She is 2 meters away before I can even blink, but I am fully prepared. The space bends, vacuuming her physical form into my pocket dimension in a split second. This is the perfect experiment for my new technique. Since the storage can hold living entities, it makes the ultimate shield against sudden attacks. And honestly, it works like a charm. Talk about a perfect defense against a highly toxic enemy. Directing my consciousness inward, I observe her suspended inside. Her vitals and attributes are completely frozen, because time simply does not flow in there. Yet because of that frozen state, I cannot modify her condition or even pluck a single strand of hair. I can only choose where she lands. For now, I can only trap her, not kill her. The pocket jail holds for exactly 1 minute before the dimension spits her right back out. However, during that 60-second window, I can force her out early to any target location I want. With a mental command, I summon her back, spinning her orientation to drop her face first right against her solid coffin. Reappearing mid-charge, her vision is blocked by dark gold, and she slams her skull straight into the metal. The heavy container crashes over with a thud. The impact leaves her dazed, groaning as her posture sags with her neck jammed down into her shoulders. I look away, completely unable to watch that had to hurt. An instant later, she jerks upright, cracking her joints as her neck pops back into place, and launches another vicious assault. Once again, my dimension drops her straight into metal. You almost have to admire this level of dedication. This ancient lady corpse charges relentlessly, only to get warped and plant her face directly into a gold metal block every single time. Still, she presses on, fueled by sheer, stubborn rage. Clang after clang echoes out, sounding like a chaotic heavy metal concert for me as I casually watch from the exit. Following one final, brutal headbutt, she staggers to her feet, finally halting. Her skull is completely misshapen. Her previously gorgeous face is thoroughly broken, her features practically sliding out of alignment. Infuriated, she throws her head back and unleashes a deafening roar. Suddenly, a massive wave of dark, noxious gas erupts from her skin, washing over the chamber floor and enveloping me before I can even move. My fingers freeze instantly. Darkness creeps into the edges of my vision as my muscles completely give out. It is toxic gas. I realize it immediately, but all my physical strength evaporates, leaving my head spinning with zero energy. All I want to do is close my eyes and drift off. I seriously regret focusing purely on physical defense, completely forgetting her venom could spread through the air. She has finished releasing the fog and is charging again. I desperately force my sluggish spirit to wake up. I tear my dimensional space open and pull her inside. Instantly, I dump every single free attribute point straight into my constitution. 15 points, pushing it from 56 to 71. Instantly, my mind clears and pure power surges right back. That crushing weakness is pressed down for now, but the poison is still running through my veins. There is absolutely no time to waste. I need to finish this fast. I summon the female mutated zombie, sending her crashing into that metal coffin again. Right then, a heavy Gatling gun materializes in my hands. As she hits the box, I pull the trigger on her. Armor-piercing rounds tear her to shreds instantly. The notification drops mutated zombie killed. 200 killing value points, and a glowing orb drifts into the air. I reach out and grab the dropped trait Total Poison Immunity, a nice passive skill that completely shrugs off normal toxins and boosts my resistance to special poisons by half. My heart, massive constitution, and new immunity kick in together. The headache and burning discomfort finally drain away. Strength surges back. The weakness in my legs is completely gone. Only then do I finally relax. That was way too close. Seriously, most bad guys die because they talk too much and play around. I almost became one myself. I need to fix that habit. Right then, a cold mechanical voice echoes in my head. Having more than 15 traits unlocks trait fusion, and now my upgrade points can be used for both upgrading and fusing skills. Merging two skills of the same type consumes these new points. As the full details unpack in front of me, I can barely contain my excitement. Fusing traits is actually possible. I was actually stressing over having too many random skills and not knowing which to level up. Now, the answer is incredibly simple. Just fold them together using trait points. Fusion only cares about the number of traits, not their quality. Merging any two costs just 2 points, no matter their color tier. The only catch is they must be the same type. My power enhancement and super speed both count as physical traits, so they can merge. But power enhancement and feng shui master belong to totally different categories. No match there. And honestly, this clever little trick is going to save us a ton of points down the road. Upgrading two separate white traits to gold costs 62 points. But fuse them at white first, and the journey to gold only takes 33. That is 29 points saved, and fusing early is clearly the best move. I am dying to try it, but something in my peripheral vision catches my eye. A glowing card with a big question mark is hovering right next to the dead female zombie. It is a rare lottery card. I snatch it up, absolutely thrilled, knowing these things are definitely not a guaranteed drop from every mutant. It is all down to odds. Last time I got 2 drops from 2 kills, but that was just pure beginner luck. This time around, my first 2 kills gave me absolutely nothing, which really sucked. Thankfully, the third try finally hits the jackpot. I rub my hands together, activate the card, and pull 5 free attribute points. My mouth twitches, not quite sure how to feel about this. Sure, free stats are great, but I am still kind of disappointed by the pull, especially since I can extract attributes from any trait I harvest, making this just minor icing on the cake. Still, free points are free points, so I bank them. I pack up the mystic metal coffin and prepare to leave, since this thing is worth 600 killing value. Definitely cannot let it go to waste. Slipping back into Moston Village, I find an abandoned house, lock the door, and finally sit down to rest. Fighting non-stop for a full day and night means I desperately need to recharge my batteries. Those 15 points in Constitution are not just numbers on a screen. A boosted body burns calories at an insane rate, and despite eating a massive meal earlier, I feel like I am literally starving to death. I lay out a massive spread and start inhaling everything in sight. 3 roast chickens, 2 roast ducks, 10 whole burgers, a hot pot of fish soup, 6 side dishes, 3 big bowls of noodles, and a liter of yogurt to wash it down. Finally, I am full. Insane appetite. Calling myself a total glutton would honestly be an understatement. That mountain of food could easily fill a cafeteria trash bin, but I polished it off without even bloating. My enhanced body digests it instantly, turning it into pure energy. Fully stuffed, I collapse straight onto the couch. Honestly, who would even want to move after a feast like that? With my current stats, I could easily push through 3 days and nights without sleeping. But unless there is an emergency, I am still going to take this quick snooze. Keeping myself in peak condition is what separates the amateurs from the pros, and I am definitely a pro. Soaking up the warm sun, breathing air way cleaner than the real world, and drifting off to sleep. This moment is incredibly rare and peaceful. For a brief second, it almost makes me forget that I am trapped in this deadly survival space. Comparing my miserable past life to this makes me feel incredibly satisfied. Fully rested, I pull up my trait panel. I had 3 points left, and Dawn refreshed one just now, bringing my total to 4. That is enough to fuse twice. My stats look solid: strength 59, constitution 71, speed 76, spirit 56. My main abilities are gold tier Eye of Insight, alongside yellow tier zombie aura and super hearing, plus yellow tier power enhancement and blood tracking. Sitting at blue tier are my super speed, dimensional space, olfactory perception, and bloodthirsty recovery. I have copper skin, iron bones, ice manipulation, feng shui, and energy resistance, plus complete poison immunity, leaving only my genius Taoist talent sitting at white. With 4 trait points, nearly 32,800 kill value, and 5 free attributes, my combat power sits at mid 2-star. I probably should have played it safer earlier, but looking back gets you nowhere. No use crying over spilled milk. Real men move forward. After weighing my options, I pick 3 things: copper skin, power boost, and extreme speed. They all target my physical form, meaning their fusion will kick my base stats way up. Time to pull the trigger. I dump all 4 points, merging the traits into one blue-tier transcendent physique. Now I have unreal speed, absurd strength, and a body of steel that ignores heavy guns. Flawless. 0 weak spots. Suddenly, a massive wave of raw power rushes through my veins. My muscles go from feeling like rigid brick to springy, hyper-elastic armor. The crazy part is my actual defense didn't drop at all, it definitely skyrocketed. The transformation wraps up in seconds. I squeeze my fist, feeling the absurd difference. But when I look at the interface, my jaw completely drops. 30 extra points. My strength, speed, and defense each jumped by 10 in an instant. That explains why I feel like a god. My speed hits 86, pushing me to late 2-star power. Just 4 points away from 90 and 3-star tier, with 5 points still left over. I could easily force my way to 3 stars right now, but that would be incredibly dumb. Being higher ranked reduces the kill points I get. Flexing a fancy title isn't worth losing out on loot. It is a bit annoying, sure, but this massive stat jump totally makes up for it. I feel completely refreshed. No time to rest, let's hunt. This is the perfect chance to test my new body. I jump up, check my map, and head out. 10 minutes later, I leave Mosin Village grinning like a maniac. Guys, this new upgrade is honestly illegal. During my quick test run, I literally stood still and let zombies wail on me. They couldn't even scratch me. No blind spots, not even my eyelids. This boosts my survival odds by a crazy amount. Honestly, how does that old saying go again? Mom doesn't have to worry about my safety anymore. Perfect. Meanwhile, the public chat is absolutely exploding with hype. Some guy is bragging about what he saw in Mosin Village's Zombie Valley, stalling for drama until people start offering bribes to get him to talk. He finally drops the bomb. Every single zombie there was blown to pieces, leaving a literal mountain of shredded flesh and a lake of blood. Everyone calls it fake until he dares them to go check it out themselves. Suddenly, the whole chat turns into a massive circus with players from the 9 great villages fighting for bragging rights. One guy swears a C-rank powerhouse with ice magic froze an entire village and leveled a church. Someone else claims an expert over in Deong village choked a rival C-rank to death before they launched a massive counterattack. Others talk up Taipyong village and Inga village. Every single story is wilder than the last, mentioning endless ice, shattered earth, and fires burning down half the sky. Basically, high-tier experts are everywhere, and nobody is willing to back down first. I ignore the chatter for now. My next target is pretty far, and I don't reach my destination, Gilsang village, until midday. Right nearby sits a massive zombie nest called Coffin Mountain. Honestly, the place is pure nightmare fuel. It's a massive hill southeast of town completely covered in old wooden coffins. A thick black fog covers it even at noon. People tried burning the place down, but the fire instantly went out the second it touched the mist. Zombies swarm the area, danger is everywhere, and staying too long will actually freeze your limbs stiff. Regular hunters stay far away during the day, which makes it the absolute perfect spot for me. If a creepy spot like this doesn't have a rare mutated boss, I'll eat my hat. I reach the edge of Coffin Mountain easily, and dive straight into the hazy fog. Inside, I can barely see 10 meters ahead through the trees and random scattered coffins. Every single box I pass starts shaking before the lid blows open, letting a monster attack despite the daytime. I pull out my Desert Eagle and start blasting dozens of rounds at the ones still trapped inside. With my custom armor-piercing ammo hitting like a Gatling gun, I easily tear my way up. The fog gets heavier as I climb, forcing me to rely on sound and scent. I lose track of time slicing through mobs, until suddenly, my vision clears up. Right ahead is a clear, open clearing. The black fog hasn't disappeared, but has gathered above like an upside-down bowl, sealing the area off while leaving the center completely empty. I instantly know this is it. Standing right in the middle of the clearing is a massive, jet-black upright coffin. This thing is a total monster, easily 6 meters tall and 3 meters wide. My instincts scream to inspect it, a yin wood coffin, no rank and no traits to steal. All that massive hype for this, I cannot help but complain, and since it is just normal wood, I completely drop my guard. My Desert Eagle vanishes, replaced by a heavy Gatling gun pouring out a golden storm of bullets. This thing is massive, so I sweep side to side and top to bottom until the huge wooden box shatters completely, revealing a much smaller metal coffin riddled with holes. Smaller only by comparison, it is still bigger than a normal coffin. 2 words pop into my head: nesting dolls. This crazy thing actually came with nesting dolls. My cheek twitches as I look at the screen again. A yin metal coffin with absolutely 0 rating and no traits. Another basic box. The golden bullets bounce off the metal with a loud clatter, and even with holes, it stands strong. Time to bring out the big guns. That massive Gatling gun vanishes, replaced by a single-use rocket launcher. This is one of 2 sets I pulled from the inventory earlier, making this the perfect chance to test it. It comes pre-loaded, so I just aim and pull. I hoist the heavy launcher onto my shoulder without bracing, since my high stats easily absorb the recoil. Aiming straight at the coffin, I pull the trigger. A dark line of smoke shoots out, hitting the box with a deafening roar. Heavy fire climbs skyward, forming a small, dark mushroom cloud. Dust swirls across the mountaintop, completely blinding my vision. But then, a notification pops out from the smoke-mutated zombie killed, earning me 200 killing value points. Talk about absolute overkill. The rocket blew it away before I even saw its face, leaving us to wait for the dust to clear. The coffin is blown completely apart, leaving fragments everywhere and a small crater right at the center. A charred, mangled figure lies inside the pit, with several trait orbs floating above. One glowing purple orb is especially bright. I step closer, not worried about any cheap tricks since I already got the points, and snatch it up. Earth affinity at purple tier. Stand with your feet on the dirt to draw boundless energy directly from the world. The details settle in. Basically, as long as my feet touch the soil, my body maintains peak condition and absolute super buff. But I frown, feeling absolutely 0 change, and checking my status screen reveals that my base stats are totally unmoved. The system clearly says the trait is absorbed. Confused, I read the description again, muttering feet on the ground. Feet on the ground, so I kick off my shoes and socks. The second my bare skin meets the dirt, check this out, a strange warm energy starts surging up. Wherever that energy flows, all my physical fatigue instantly melts away. Even the nagging hunger in my stomach fades, leaving my entire body brimming with endless strength. And that is how you activate Earth Affinity. Does this mean I have to go barefoot from now on? Hopefully not. Still, it is my very first purple trait, so I study its conditions with extra care. It requires bare feet. Hands do not work. But standing on the bare earth keeps me energized like a machine. And if I step off the soil, the power does not cut out. It slowly bleeds down as the stored energy spends itself, fading away over about 15 minutes before I return to my normal self. It has a slight flaw, but it is decent. At least I will not starve out in the wild anymore. Looking over the other orbs, I find they are all useless duplicates. But I am not disappointed, because this single purple trait alone is more than enough profit. Contentment is true happiness. I scan the area one last time, find a nice flat spot, and sit down to wait for sunset to start farming. It is already around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, meaning only a few hours left until dark. Not enough time to explore other villages. Better to stay put. With so many monsters crawling around, why not lure a massive horde and wipe them out later? I even start daydreaming about what crazy rank I will secure at the end, an S rank at least, and what I will do back home. As the sun finally dips below the horizon, loud gunfire echoes across Coffin Mountain once more. Massive crowds of zombies swarm me from every direction, and the glorious bloody feast begins. Meanwhile, down at the foot of Coffin Mountain, a smaller clash is taking place as 5 zombies get surrounded by a team. Their leader unleashes bright arcs of lightning from his palms, sending a monster into violent convulsions. This is the military's own lightning ability user, Director Joe. With the last zombie down, a soldier whispers that this is already their 3rd wave. There must be countless more up the path, leaving the grim truth unsaid. Some things are better left unspoken, since showing fear before a clash is a massive taboo, but he has to protect his squad. These guys are not from the 816 Bureau, just normal humans with no crazy powers to rely on like Director Joe. Director Joe reads the room instantly, listens to the distant gunfire echoing from the peaks, and finally speaks with a heavy face. He orders them to hold the perimeter and farm the weaker monsters while he goes up alone, telling them to fall back if things get ugly. The guy protests that he cannot go up alone, but before he can finish, Director Jobin cuts him off. He has that lightning ability, which completely counters zombies. So even against a massive crowd, he can escape while they cannot. The man tries to protest again, but Director Jobin completely shuts him down. No buts. As director of the 816 Bureau, he is ordering Hwang Hyung to wait right here. Hwang Hyung sucks it up and nods. With that settled, Director Jobin gets ready, leaves the team behind, and heads up the mountain completely alone. Up on the peak, I cannot stop, and honestly, I do not want to. Every second the Gatling fires, zombies shred to pieces in the muzzle flash. A single armor-piercing round easily tears through 4 or 5 of them at once. The smell of rotting beast carcasses behind me drifts up, drawing wave after wave of monsters. Between the stench and the loud noise, the entire mountain is emptying right onto me. Since my ammo never runs out, the massacre continues. It goes on until 10 minutes before the final countdown ends. Only after picking up the very last card from the corpses do I finally sit in the wreckage to count my loot. I smile happily. 210 cards of every type, plus over 40 more still selling in the auction market to boost the total. That brings me to 257 cards. My killing score hits 44,300, with a few 2-star treasures to boot. Seriously, this single run has completely shattered any of my realistic expectations. Suddenly, my ears twitch. My smile vanishes. On pure reflex, an ice cone forms and shoots straight into the distant black fog. The moment it enters the mist, a fist covered in crackling lightning smashes it in a flash of bright blue. I realize he is an ability user just as he calls me one too. Then, we both fall completely silent. Somewhere out there in the shadows, I hear him gasp. That single ice strike actually drew blood, and I can tell he is shaken. After all, he had the entire military backing him for 10 full days. He pushed himself way past the limits of normal fighters. He threw a full power punch on instinct and still got hurt. Not knowing is eating him alive. He cannot see me either, just a shadow under the fog. Since he keeps hiding, I summon more ice cones, pointing them lazily into the mist. That forces him out. He steps forward with his hands raised, calling it a misunderstanding and introducing himself as Jobin. He claims he just wandered in by accident, then guesses with surprising confidence that I am the double S rank player from the leaderboard. To him, it is the only logical explanation for someone being this ridiculously strong. Acting surprised, I ask if he is the famous thunder god Jobin. He chuckles, saying he does not deserve that title. I fall silent, remembering him. Thunder god Jobin was a legendary hero in my past life, leading the war against monsters and enemy nations. He climbed up through the military, a righteous man who eventually mastered his lightning power to absolute perfection. The ultimate sword who once saved an entire city single-handedly, becoming a respected hero throughout the nation. Honestly, I always highly respected him. I never expected to meet his younger, inexperienced self down here. Seeing my silence, he stands tall, introducing himself as director of the 816 Bureau. He then formally invites me to join their ranks to help maintain order back in the real world. I reject the offer immediately, but since we ran into each other, I tell him to pass a message upstairs. He frowns, asking what message. I warn him that the toxic fog over Yangwon village is a seam where 2 worlds are merging. Once that mist clears, the monsters from this killing space will flood into the real world. I refuse to let the military control me, but giving them a few tips costs nothing. A stronger nation means a massive advantage in the coming war. Ultimately, that global advantage benefits me too. He gasps, quickly asking what I mean and if I know something more. I tell him straight out that this world is far stranger than he can possibly imagine, and to remember to check the heads of the invading monsters they kill. But before I can finish, the system voice cuts in, announcing that this killing space is closing and pulling me out. The entire world suddenly blurs around us. Jobin wakes up in the settlement zone with massive golden text flashing before his eyes, but he barely even notices it. His mind is stuck on my warning monsters invading reality, checking their heads. And most importantly, who was that guy? How did he know his name and title unless he was part of the system? Meanwhile, my own evaluation begins. The system confirms my survival, giving me a starting rank of D before it climbs. Clearing 2 tasks bumps me to C. Over 100 kills lifts me to B. Over 1,000 reaches A. 10,000 takes me to S. And possessing over 100 cards carries me to double S. Taking down those 4 mutated beasts is what finally pushes my score to SSS, where it stops. My final rating locks in at triple S. The moment that grade registers, the sky flashes gold and the leaderboards return. But this time, it is split into two, the old ranks and the new, standing side by side. A new ranking is minted at the end of every zone. I scan the names calmly. First place again, naturally. I really wanted to keep a low profile, but my absolute monster of a build simply will not let me. The list confirms I have taken the top spot twice now, and keeping this streak alive for a third win unlocks a bonus reward. Getting a special bonus for 3 consecutive first-place finishes is something I never even heard about during my past life. Then again, since I am the only one around running a literal cheat code, getting 3 straight wins was never possible for anyone else. The top line displays my name. The remaining slots are miles away from SSS rank. Second place is a guy named Joe, sitting at B rank. Wait, I actually know exactly whose name that is. The entire top 100 is stuck at B rank. They all got there just by clearing 2 days of basic tasks, which shows how much those minor chores impact the final reward. I hold a massive, towering lead over all of them, a literal tiger among sheep. It feels incredibly satisfying. The chat room explodes the second the board goes live. Thousands of voices start flooding the chat. Half of them are losing their minds over that SSS rank, swearing it is the same monster who got double S last time. The others just make jokes. One random clown tries to sell himself as arm candy to the big shot before a moderator shuts it down. I just skim it and move on. The actual rank rewards make me sit up. 7 points added to every stat, 20 free points to allocate, and 2,000 killing points on top. Last time, that double S grade got me 39 points. This time, I get 48 in a single go. During the tally, my stock of cards vanishes. 257 of them convert into 25,700 killing points, pushing my total past 70,000. The killing shop refreshes, but I hold off on opening it. Instead, I pull out those 5 2-star treasures I have been holding and scrap them all. 600 points each. Another 3,000 points, hitting 75,000. They were useless to me, but even a small mosquito still counts as a bite of meat. With 75,000 killing points in hand, I seriously doubt anyone else on this entire planet can match me. I open the shop to find the same categories, but with completely fresh stock. The available weapons are clearly a step down from what the last zone offered. The firearms are just ancient bolt-action rifles that you have to reload manually after every single shot. Everything is tailored directly to this period. I head straight for the stats tab first, since physical power is the only thing you can truly rely on. The costs have reset, so I buy instantly. All stats go up by 10 for 400 points, then another 10 for 4,000, and a third set of 10 for 40,000. When the next tier asks 100,000 for 10 points, I walk away. 10,000 is my absolute limit. Only a fool pays 100,000 for 10 points. My strength now sits at 106, and constitution at 118. Speed is at 123, spirit is 93, with 25 free points saved. Best of all, my evaluation tier hits 4 stars, early stage. Staring at that 4-star tier, I realize something. In the next zone, my experience gains will be heavily penalized because I am simply too strong. So what? It was the same in this zone, and I still easily farmed over 70,000 points. I look at my free points, save 10 of them, and distribute the other 15. I put 8 into strength and 7 into spirit. This brings my strength to 114 and my spirit to an even 100. Now, it is time to prep for the next wave, because things are about to get ugly. In this zone, I could easily run wild just by spraying a heavy Gatling gun. But prepare yourselves, because against our next enemies, a Gatling is basically a toy. We are dealing with actual Tate-100 Terminators. The real Tate-100s are nothing like those cinematic pushovers, since their on-screen weakness was really just a Hollywood budget limitation. Their entire frame is a robotic skeleton forged from an unknown super alloy, completely shrugging off standard firearms and explosives. Their physical stats easily dwarf an average adult's, completely backed by infinite endurance, efficient combat processors, and a terrifying ability to adapt. In short, they are absolute nightmares, but they do have weaknesses. A machine never bothers to hide its movements or cover its tracks, making it pretty easy for a survivor to spot and avoid from afar. They lack ranged weaponry, meaning once disarmed, they are stuck in close-quarters combat. Plus, without thermal or X-ray vision, a solid hiding spot lets them walk right past you entirely blind. Besides, a machine is still just a machine, easy enough to break. All you need to do is fry its circuits with a high-voltage pulse. Strong as the Tate-100 is, if you stay hidden and avoid direct confrontation, surviving is actually quite simple. If you play the terrain right, you can even take a few of them down. Analyzing my options, I search the shop for any solid countermeasures, but, as expected, nothing turns up. Given this zone's current era, there is zero technology built to combat high-tech robots, just a heap of vintage guns that even the space's own upgrades cannot make worth a second glance. So I slide right past them. I do not even open the medicine tab since leveling up through kills heals me anyway. And as for poisoning a monster, tell me, which of the beasts crawling out of these spaces could you actually poison, let alone a T-800? Poison one of those, and the best you will get is a software virus. If the shop sold antivirus code, I might actually think about it. Bypassing medicine and clearing attributes off the list leaves only 2 tabs left: special and skills. I browse special first and find it packed with talismans, feng shui charms, jade pendants. Basically just exorcism gear. There are a few handy items, but I decide to check skills before redeeming anything. Opening the skill list, I am shocked to see a whole batch of new supernatural abilities stocked. Moves like 10,000 Poison Burst and Poison Infestation, plus Frost Bomb, Frost Entanglement, Earth Escape, Earth Wall, and Golden Armor. Most are grayed out and locked, but the Ice and Earth types are wide open. No mystery there, a skill grays out because I do not have the matching talent to activate it. Buy Poison Infestation without a poison talent, and what do you infest? The bacteria on your own skin? Without the actual talent, the shop will not sell to you. The Ice and Earth options only light up for me because of my Ice Manipulation and Earth Affinity. But why on earth are these supernatural skills appearing right now? I think about it and realize zombies are already here, so what is even off the table at this point? Most of these are likely ripped straight from the mutated zombies. Having looted so many bodies, I have worked out a clear pattern to my steals. What I loot? Always talents, never skills. Stealing a talent gives me the raw power, but how to use it is up to me. My Ice Manipulation came from General Gang, giving me his whole foundation. And yet, never figured out a single ice skill. Looking at the list now, everything clicks. 10,000 Poison Burst was that nasty skill from the poison zombie that nearly ended me. Earth Escape and Earth Wall definitely belong to that last stunted, mutated zombie. Since I have Earth Affinity, I can use Earth skills. I have only faced 4 mutated zombies, and if one guards each of the 9 great villages, there are still 5 mutants I have never met. The rest? They definitely come off them. Reading through them, a sweet shortcut against those T-800s hits me freezing. Even super alloy is metal, and extreme cold changes metal structure. If I can make those machines cold enough, smashing them to pieces with a hail of bullets is actually doable. Knowing this, I start scanning the shop carefully. I have 30,600 killing value, and I am going to buy a serious arsenal. Frost Entanglement at perfection level binds the target in icy ropes, gradually freezing them solid. 5,000 killing value. Freezing Ray at perfection shoots a beam that freezes everything in its path. 5,000. Frost Bomb creates a concentrated ice ball that freezes everything in its blast radius. Another 5,000. Frozen Storm conjures an icy hurricane to shred my foes. 5,000. Frost Domain creates a zone that freezes everything inside. 5,000. Earth Escape at perfection lets me dive underground and move extremely fast beneath the surface. 5,000. Skill ranks run from low to perfection, costing 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and 5,000 points respectively. I buy every single one at perfection level. Who knows when these skills will appear again, and the price is fixed anyway. At 5,000 each, I can totally afford it. 6 skills, 5 ice moves for the monsters ahead, and 1 earth skill for escaping and hiding. 30,000 points disappear instantly, leaving a sad 600. Well, out with the old, in with the new. No seed money, no harvest. I head back to the special tab and spend my remaining points on one item, the 5 to 100 point Pestilence Removal Talisman, which unleashes 10,000 golden rays on use. Everywhere that light touches, all plague dissolves for 1 hour. And honestly, this purchase is not even for the monsters inside the spaces. It is for the zombies about to invade reality. Zombies are basically a virus, and in the old days, we did not call it a virus, we called it pestilence. In my past life, some guy materialized this talisman card just to bring it back to the real world and show off. And by pure luck, that show-off was a young villager from Wan. When the zombies finally broke out in reality, he activated it on pure instinct, and the results were absolutely staggering. Golden light completely flooded the village, and every single zombie caught in it dropped dead on the spot. Thanks to that single talisman, young Wan held off the undead army for a whole hour, buying the military precious time to react. But once that hour expired, the village fell in a heartbeat. The military was beaten back step by step until a small mushroom cloud rose over the hill behind young Wan, finally crushing the first massive zombie frenzy. Since I decided to farm a massive wave of zombies, I might as well come fully prepared, and this talisman is my absolute best insurance policy. I have only 100 killing points left. Nothing worth buying here, so I leave the settlement space. Back in the real world, it is just one massive night of non-stop celebration. Seriously, just look at this. If you simply hold your breath, these zombies go completely blind. Aside from a few incredibly unlucky people who died right away, most survivors scored tons of kills and stacked up daily rewards. Everyone returned loaded with supplies, instantly unlocking and upgrading their brand new powers. People with extra killing points buy items from the shop, watching their power shoot up instantly. Streaming platforms explode with super-powered streamers, and the hype around these abilities runs hotter than ever before. Meanwhile, in forgotten Yongwon village, the toxic fog on the back mountain is silently changing. It is thinning out fast, and at this rate, it will be totally gone by noon tomorrow. Inside a military conference room, a major emergency meeting drags incredibly late into the night. A media crew feeds every single word over a secure channel to powerful figures watching from the shadows, and Director Joe is running the show. He wraps up his briefing and quietly waits for questions. He is definitely not the low-level leader he once was. He is the bureau chief of Bureau 816 now, commanding serious respect with every move he makes. A top official speaks up first, asking if the intel I shared with him is true or false. Joe pauses, giving it an 80% chance of truth. He had no motive to lie, unless he is a foreign spy, another leader asks. No way. Joe replies that guy was far stronger than me and could have wiped us out easily if he wanted to. Then, another official takes a totally different angle. He points out that this mysterious stranger shared massive secrets about the killing space, showing goodwill. Maybe they actually know each other? Joe shakes his head. He has no idea who the guy is, and even after digging through his memories, he came up completely empty. Then he clearly knows you, someone argues, or has at least heard of your name. That is highly likely, Joe admits. If so, the man is deep in our system, or he never would have known the Thunder God title. Hearing this, the speaker turns to a bearded man across the table and instructs Old Ho. He is their best expert at screening personnel, so he starts narrowing down suspects based on Joe's story, reading back his notes. First, he is inside the system. Second, he entered the space twice, vanished for 3 days, and left 0 records during that time. Third, his voice sounds quite young, likely somewhere between 18 and 35 years old. His height is over 180 centimeters with an average build. Fourth, he wields ice abilities. Fifth, no thick accent, ruling out certain regions. He asks if there is anything else. Joe says the summary is spot on and has nothing to add. Suddenly, the room's operator stands up, walks over to Joe, whispers in his ear, and hands him some papers. Joe's face goes pale, and he gasps out, asking if this is actually real. All eyes lock onto him. After a moment, he orders the operator to put it on the big screen. Now brace yourselves, because Joe turns dead serious and warns the room that the monsters are actually almost here. Within 2 seconds, the screen flickers to life, showing video footage of an eerie, completely empty historical street. Suddenly, space warps and a huge chunk of the ground just disappears, leaving a massive gaping hole behind. Thick gray fog erupts, completely swallowing the block until the screen goes blank. Joe explains this is a 5-star resort in Gang Province. It is now completely smothered under the exact same toxic gray fog creeping over the back mountain of Yongwon village. Even though the resort was closed, the patrolling guards did not stand a single chance of escaping it. He leaves the rest unsaid. Everyone knows what happens to people caught in that toxic fog. Gasps echo through the room, followed by angry complaints demanding to know what research is doing with their massive funding if they still cannot solve this. Joe has 0 patience for their whining, and quickly switches the screen to a second video clip. It is a drone shot of the Yongwon back mountain, showing the central fog starting to visibly thin. The camera pulls back to show the entire landscape before the video speeds up to 10 times speed. At this fast rate, the dark gray fog in the center drains away right before their eyes. The sharp boundary fades completely until only a thin mist remains, revealing eerie silhouettes inside, right before the feed cuts out. Someone panics, yelling that they saw something move. Joe gravely confirms the fog will be gone by morning. With a grim look, he tells them to see for themselves, and the screen fills with terrifying still frames. Inside the thinning fog, a shadowy figure looms. Peering through the veil reveals pale, rotting skin and jagged claws. There is no mistake, it is a zombie. Joe draws a breath, plainly stating that those moving targets are zombies from the killing space. The stranger predicted every single bit of this. The zombies are here. Privately, Joe lets out a slow sigh of relief. For over 10 days, that fog had done absolutely nothing, neither spreading nor fading. Most people had simply stopped paying attention. Only the stranger's warning kept him uneasy enough to keep guards posted around the clock. That single decision is what caught this. If no one had been keeping watch when dawn broke and those zombies spilled out, the consequences would have been unthinkable. His words leave the room in complete silence. Cut to an abandoned factory in suburban Haesong City. I stand right in the dead center, frowning at the ice shards and rubble scattered everywhere. The floor is completely cratered, as if smashed by some monstrous force. I only just tested my new skills while holding back, yet the entire place still got completely wrecked. And yet, I do not look pleased. Not at all. My new abilities are undeniably powerful, but there is a massive gap compared to what I expected. The problem is simple. It is just not cold enough. On paper, the absolute lowest temperature I can hit is around -100 degrees. That sounds impressive, easily shattering ordinary steel or common alloys, but a 800 superalloy is a whole different beast. I estimate I would need at least -150, maybe -180. No matter how hard I push, I cannot drop it any lower. The only option left is upgrading the skill itself. If I can just nudge my ice manipulation up a level, things should definitely change. I cannot force that upgrade right now, so it has to wait. But look at this, my Earth Escape skill is a total masterpiece. At perfect mastery, my travel speed tunneling underground is just as fast as sprinting on the surface. After practicing these new moves a few times to get a feel for them, I hail a cab and head straight for Yongguan Village. It is at least a 3-hour drive, putting me there after 4 in the morning. Soon, the cab rolls down a dirt road just outside Yongguan Village, stops, lets one man out, and immediately drives off, leaving him standing completely alone under a flickering street lamp, his shadow stretching long across the dirt. Hiding in the trees, the driver is busy dealing with a sudden bathroom emergency. He glances back, wondering why anyone would get out in this creepy wasteland. He comforts himself, knowing dawn is finally breaking, so he does not have to worry about running into ghosts. But a second later, his jaw drops because that mysterious figure has vanished into thin air. Panicking, he rubs his eyes, sees empty road, turns pale, and scrambles back to his car while frantically pulling up his pants, desperately begging every single god he can think of to protect him, praying that whatever it was did not notice him. Then he speeds away like a rocket. 10 minutes later, I pop up right next to a no trespassing sign at the village border. After a quick look around, I dive back into the dirt. This Earth Escape skill is honestly a cheat code. When I resurface, I am standing right in front of a dense wall of toxic fog. I slowly stick my hand inside for a few seconds, waiting to see what happens. Just as I hoped, my poison immunity neutralizes the fog completely. Normally, I would be forced to wait because any contact meant instant infection. Now, I just stroll right inside without a single worry. A few steps in, I come across a few zombies stumbling along. The moment they spot me, they tilt their heads in confusion, then completely ignore me. They even step aside to give me space. Man, this zombie aura trait is incredibly useful. I narrow my eyes and raise a hand. Several glowing beams of freezing blue light instantly shoot out and wrap around them, instantly turning them into frozen human statues. A deadly laser sword flashes in my hand as I teleport in front of them and slash, shattering the frozen corpses into neat halves. I grab a glove to quickly loot the bodies. You can feel the tension rising as I move forward with my sword drawn. Further down the trail, I spot more of them. This time, I bypass skills and simply dash in close, slicing them down and looting their bodies. In no time, I pull a glowing hexagonal red crystal out of a skull, an energy pearl. Survivors normally absorb these pearls to gain massive stat boosts and unlock powers. Despite coming from a rotting brain, it is surprisingly spotless. There is not a single speck of blood on it, just a faint, mesmerizing red glow. I inspect it to check the details. A basic 1-star pearl with absolutely 0 draftable traits. What a waste. Back when my strength was at 2 stars, this would have helped. But since I am now at 4 stars, this is basically trash. To actually level up, I need at least a 3-star pearl. Even though it is useless to me, I toss it into my inventory, leaving the remaining zombies behind as I slip underground. This Earth Escape skill is honestly godlike for traveling through these mountains. No detours required. I just dive deep and travel in a perfect straight line with 0 obstacles or danger. I no longer have to hunt them on foot, so I just glide underground. 5 minutes later, I resurface and look around with a serious face. The thick fog has thinned out into a mere veil, fading away within the hour, just as I predicted. These zombies are about to be exposed to the entire world. A massive new era is dawning for ability users everywhere. Too bad I have got a much bigger issue right now. I am completely lost, and I can no longer find my way through the fog. Now that it's clear, every single path looks identical. There is nothing but massive trees, wandering ghouls, and endless slopes. I cannot even tell if I am actually heading up the mountain trail. I freeze in silence. I prepared for absolutely everything except my own terrible sense of direction. I am the type who needs a map just to step outside. I was so caught up enjoying my fancy new Earth escape power that I never stopped to check my coordinates. Staring at a few nearby walkers, I squint my eyes and decide to try talking to the closest one. I demand that it lead me straight to its master. The creature tilts its neck at my pointed hand, seemingly trying to process my words. When it remains still, I shake my head. Overthinking things is useless against a brainless corpse. But hold on, the zombie actually turns and starts shuffling forward. I cannot help but grin. Is this ridiculous plan actually going to work? I follow closely, feeling quite pleased. But 5 minutes later, I am totally annoyed. The slow thing keeps tripping over every single branch. 2 faceplants already. Watching its bent, twisted legs stumble along, I end its misery with a quick slash. Moving like this, I would be lucky to reach the peak by tomorrow evening. So I use Earth Escape to dive in that direction. Pop up, grab another zombie guide, and repeat. After 30 grueling minutes of this, I finally arrive at my destination. It is a mountain pass, once a lush wooded hollow between 2 peaks, now completely flattened by some terrifying pressure. Right in the center, a massive black void spins endlessly, hovering over the bare earth. The surrounding air twists wildly, tiny cracks splintering and mending rapidly through an invisible pressure. This is the dimensional gate straight into the zombie world. Swarms of the undead pour from the void without stopping, scattering everywhere. From up here, it looks exactly like a plague of locusts leaving their hive. With my zombie aura active, the ghouls simply veer around me. They are avoiding me, but I certainly will not be avoiding them. I am here for 2 reasons. First, to wait for the Corpse King to arrive, slay it, and steal its unique abilities. Second, to treat this undead army as moving targets and train myself to master my new powers. Just because my system panel shows a stat boost does not mean I automatically control it. I still need to break my own physical limits. During my last spatial leap, even with a minor boost to my space skills, I had to rely on experience and spent days mastering it. Since there are so many free training targets wandering around, wasting this practice session would be absolute madness. Time to fight. Slipping off my shoes, I plant my bare feet firmly on the dirt and prime my body to its absolute peak. 1 deep breath. I deactivate my zombie aura. At that exact moment, I pour a full bucket of fresh blood right over my head. As the crimson liquid coats the dirt, a heavy stench of blood rises up. Instantly, hungry, glowing eyes lock onto me. A monstrous roar echoes like a battle horn, and the entire undead army charges at me at once, a massive wave of teeth and claws. With a flick of my wrist, I slice the first beast in half, slide past, and decapitate the next with a smooth upward swing. No stopping. Before the head even lands, I am slicing a third, my body moving like a flash between them. My laser blade cuts, chops, and shears without mercy. A dozen fall in the blink of an eye. I am like the Grim Reaper collecting souls. Yet, these monsters do not care about pain or death. Their real weapon is their overwhelming numbers. No matter how skilled I am, the massive crowd swallows me whole, leaving nothing but bursts of red sword light cutting through the horde. For 10 straight minutes, they crowd me so tightly, I can barely breathe. That is when I unleash a freezing pillar of absolute zero into the sky. Behold my frost domain. Sharp ice spikes blast outward in all directions, turning every surrounding zombie into a solid, frozen statue. The absolute zero aura expands to cover a full 100 meters, creating a completely lifeless, frozen wasteland of solid ice. This sudden commotion only stalls the outer ghouls for a second before they surge inward again. As they cross the threshold, the frozen statues smash to pieces under their weight. Then, they instantly freeze too, creating an endless cycle of shattering ice. An endless cycle of frost and death. Now, let us rewind a few minutes. Over in Yamguan village, camo-clad soldiers rush through the streets carrying heavy crates of ammunition. Defensive lines are already set up right behind the mountain. Loaded guns. They aim directly at the clearing mist. The locals were evacuated overnight, leaving only a temporary command base. Director Joe and several high-ranking officers sit inside, eyes glued to a monitor displaying a live satellite feed of the fog-covered area. They are forced to use satellites, since a mysterious interference blocks all technology within a 5-kilometer radius of the gate. The fog is clearing. Now, the satellite imagery is more than enough. As the endless tide of undead crawls across the monitor, Everyone looks extremely tense. One commander picks up his radio, ordering the high-altitude bomber drones to stand by. Over the comms, a voice reports the bombing squad is in position and ready to drop. Then, another commander points at the screen, shouting for them to look as a massive chunk of the undead army breaks off and surges in one direction. It is moving dead against the flow. Completely wrong. Joe barks to zoom in, and the feed stretches until a lone figure finally resolves on screen. He is holding a long red blade dripping with blood, fighting the horde. His face is just a blur, but the sight jolts the entire room. A person, they whisper, how is someone even alive in that zone? Why fight them? Why can we not get a clearer picture? Suddenly, a wave of cold blue light floods the feed. Within seconds, every single zombie within 100 meters is a frozen statue. An ice ability, they whisper, that is powerful. Is he one of yours, Director Joe? Joe shakes his head bitterly, not his man. Joe knows he could never reach this level. Even if he unleashed his lightning at maximum output, he would not hit a third of it. Then who is it, they demand. Staring at that signature icework, a familiar profile matches in Joe's mind. He leaps to his feet, shouting that it is him. Wait, it is the #1 ranker they have been hunting this whole time. The room instantly erupts. Why is he here? How can they possibly drop the bombs now? Down in the gap, the monsters keep rushing me like moths to a flame, turning directly to ice. I stand in the center, carefully measuring the severe drain on my energy. Drained is the exact word. Every skill costs energy, and different types of abilities burn through entirely different fuels. Elemental ones eat up your mental reserves, physical powers drain your stamina, and some weird ones even devour your blood or hair. Mental energy is generated by your core mental power. The stronger your mind, the larger the reserve you carry. Put simply, my frost domain uses my own mental reserves to awaken the world's natural elements, freezing everything inside 100 meters. The more energy I pour in, the more natural power I can wake up, and the harder the freeze hits. This is my very first maximum output release, and that single burst alone just cost me about a third of my mental energy. Keeping the active zone open drains me constantly. At this rate, I will run completely dry in 30 seconds. Calculating the limit and duration, I deactivate the zone. There are other skills to test, and I cannot waste it all here. The ice feast begins. The moment I drop the field, the frozen statues shatter. I stomp down, diving deep into the earth to emerge inside another cluster 100 meters away. A miniature blue vortex spins up in my palm. I fling it toward the choke point, and the instant it leaves my hands, it grows. 1, 5, 10 meters, 100-meter ice hurricane explodes in seconds. It rips toward the breach, vacuuming up every monster in its path, freezing them instantly before grinding them to powder. 50 meters out, the heavy horde splits the storm. It collapses into a deadly rain of ice spikes, crushing another wave flat. Instantly, a path 10 meters wide and 50 long is swept completely clean. With the ground carpeted in frozen, shattered remains, the entire command room goes as silent as a tomb. Can you blame them? They are just staring blankly at the cleared space left on the screen. Someone whispers if a human can actually do this. Another mutters they need to completely reassess awakened power levels. A third officer trails off, wondering what happens to the world order if people can wield this kind of power. Joe is frozen in shock, too. He thought the guy was just slightly stronger than him, not a god. But then, his eyes flash. If that guy can reach this level, so can he. It is just a matter of time. Amid the horde, my hands never stop. A bright blue beam as thick as my arm shoots forward, freezing ray. Anything it grazes turns to solid ice. It blasts straight through for 10 meters before fading away. Next, I throw a condensed ice orb frost bomb and it explodes deep in the pack, freezing everything inside a 10-meter radius. Then, a twisting blue thread ropes out from my hand frost entanglement. It snares a single zombie, locking it solid on the spot. Running every skill at maximum gives me a perfect read on my arsenal. Frost Domain and Frozen Storm are the absolute heaviest drains, costing a third of my energy each. But Frozen Storm is a one-off cost. Unlike the Domain's steady bleed, Frost Bomb takes a 10th, Freezing Ray is a 30th. Frost Entanglement is just a 100th. This means Frozen Storm is my massive crowd clearer. Frost Domain is my panic button when surrounded, and Frost Bomb is my ranged area control, while Freezing Ray and Frost Entanglement are for picking off single targets. By the end, I have burned 90% of my mental reserves, and recovery is painfully slow. Back in the command room, minds are blown as every flash of blue on that screen turns a whole wave to ice. Joe is staring in absolute disbelief, questioning if he could ever reach that level of monstrous strength. Thinking back to how he boasted about reaching a third of this guy's power, Joe's face burns with embarrassment. Seeing this, even a tenth is a stretch. The guy is strong. Beyond terrifyingly strong. Suddenly, a confused voice pulls everyone back to the feed. Something pitch black has appeared in my hand. One of the leaders instantly shouts out, "That is a Gatling gun. That has to be a Gatling, or I'll eat my desk. Why would someone ditch their powers for a firearm?" Another asks, "Where does he even get ammo for a beast that chews through thousands of rounds a minute?" An arms expert leans in, deeply troubled, pointing out the design is all wrong. The gun lacks a feed tray, which makes no sense. Someone needles him. "Is it possible you just misread it, Old Wang?" Old Wang snaps back that he knows weapons better than his own wife, and can draw that exact model blind. So, no, he did not make a mistake. Someone else points out the guy has been firing this whole time without reloading even once. The truth hits them. The Gatling never needs to reload. Joe calls it a space-made weapon with infinite ammo. The military leaders turn to him, eyes wide, asking if he has actually bought one himself. Joe's cheek twitches, and he shakes his head bitterly, admitting he cannot possibly afford a weapon like that. A single infinite ammo pistol costs 5,000 killing value, and all his kills across 2 space trips do not even add up to that. How can he afford it? They demand, can he really kill that many alone? Joe stands there, completely speechless. Honestly, how would Joe even know how he farms those points? But get ready, because we are finally heading back out to the battlefield. I march straight toward the massive horde with the Gatling, looking like one man facing 10,000. Not a single monster attacks me from behind because my zombie aura is active. Now that my search powers are tested and ready, I am good to go. Swarming? Only an idiot would let them. Besides, the stench of these unwashed monsters is genuinely unbearable. This way, I am the only one dealing damage. I march right to the portal, stop a few steps away, and open fire. Instant, gruesome carnage. The range is too narrow to plug the flow, or I would block this entire hole alone. Why are they not attacking? They were fearless just a second ago, but now they actively avoid him, leaving a clear 10-meter circle. They ask if Bureau Chief Joe knows of any item that makes zombies back off, or even fear a human. Joe shakes his head blankly, silently grumbling that if he knew about such an item, he would have used it long ago instead of talking tactics. But he feels pretty sure the guy used something space-made. Suddenly, someone gasps as the zombie wave starts thinning out, and seriously, what steps through that portal next will send chills down your spine. At the rift, I stop shooting to inspect the pair emerging. It is a zombie somehow fused with a tiger. Half its body is human, the other half a bloated mass of muscle ending in a giant claw. Below it rides a zombie white tiger over 3 meters tall, skin peeled back to reveal ghastly white bone. The moment they step through, they release an incredible pressure. Nearby zombies freeze in their tracks and bow down in absolute submission. The Corpse King has arrived. My eyes narrow, gold light flickering inside them. The readout identifies the first as a mutated zombie king. Rating is 2 stars, initial stage. Its attributes are purple, zombie aura, blue mind edict, blue strength enhancement, and yellow accelerated recovery. The mount is a zombie tiger, rated 1 star, initial stage. Its aura is yellow, with bite and pounce at white. This info is pretty disappointing. Just a single 2-star and a 1-star? Imagine being that weak and still acting this proud. Why cannot they learn from me? I am a 4-star and never flex like this. Mid-complaint, the Corpse King roars. An invisible shockwave rolls outward, actually dazing me for a split second. It is a mental command carrying the king's terrifying will, ordering his mindless minions to slaughter everything in sight. The horde roars back, but that is when my Gatling speaks. The king and his tiger are riddled with bullets in an instant, right in the middle of their rally. Their heads explode. Instant death. The frozen horde slowly turns their blank gazes toward my roaring muzzle. I lift the barrel, blow away the smoke, and ask who exactly they were flexing on with that pathetic strength. I flash directly over to the fallen Corpse King, instantly absorbing several glowing orbs of light into my body. Purple zombie aura obtained, upgrading mine to a king's level, allowing me to command both regular and mutated zombies. Blue mind edict unlocked, letting me project absolute commands into weak-minded targets, forcing them to obey my every word without question. Yellow accelerated recovery triples my healing speed. As for the tiger's bite and pounce skills, I throw them away immediately, since I am no beast and have absolutely no habit of gnawing on people's ears. As the new attributes fuse, a terrifying aura of a true king explodes from me. The dazed horde goes completely numb, their primitive instincts kicking in as they bow in submission. I unleash a ripple to test my new command, ordering the entire horde to slaughter whoever is standing right next to them. A split second of quiet, then absolute chaos. The zombies turn on each other, biting and clawing in a massive free-for-all. Watching them tear themselves apart is pure gold. This skill is basically a cheat code for the military. My job here is pretty much done. This first wave of 100,000 zombies is finished, and the next horde won't even show up until the third zone closes. That gives the military plenty of time to prepare. The fog clears up. The army is on its way. I take one last look at the quiet rift, use my earth escape skill, and vanish. 10 minutes after I leave, the mist completely vanishes. Swarms of military drones sweep in, scanning the area like they are looking for a hidden boss. When they find nothing, they just start raining down heavy missile strikes. The next day, I sleep in late, grab a quick shower, and head out to find a public payphone to make a call. Time to collect my 30 million won. It rings twice. A nervous voice answers, asking who it is. I do not waste time. I straight up ask if my 30 million is ready. The old shopkeeper behind the counter keeps staring at me. He checks out my cheap clothes, sneers, and mutters about how kids these days stand at payphones talking about millions like it is pocket change. He thinks I am just bragging, but I ignore him. After a tense silence on the line, the caller suddenly changes his tone, calling me a god and saying the cash is already waiting. I actually raise an eyebrow. I am pretty surprised that Pang Ho is keeping his word, since I fully expected him to try and back out. It makes no sense. 30 million is serious money, not 3,001. Not wanting to waste brainpower figuring out his game, I tell him to give me his address in Haisong City so I can come pick up the payment. In this lifetime, I got strong so fast that I refuse to go back to walking on eggshells or overthinking people's schemes just to stay alive, like I did in my past. Honestly, whatever trap he is setting, I do not care. He reads off the address right away. I write it down and prepare to hang up, but then he hesitates, carefully asking if I am the guy sitting at the very top of the global rankings. Everything clicks. No wonder he is acting so nice. He probably put two and two together after seeing those slaughtered zombies. I warn him to stop asking stupid questions, tell him to put the funds on an anonymous card, and say I will be there at 7 tonight. I hang up, pay the old shopkeeper, and walk out. The old man just sneers as I leave, muttering that I should keep dreaming because even in his youth, he was never that full of himself. Soon, night falls. Inside a massive luxury mansion in Haisong City, Pang Ho paces back and forth. He keeps checking the window, staring down at the front gates. He is clearly waiting for someone, nervously muttering to himself about why they are taking so long. Suddenly, a calm voice speaks from his sofa, asking if the cash is ready. Pang Ho freezes, cold sweat immediately soaking his shirt as he spins to find a mysterious figure sitting there. Yep, it is me. You should see the absolute shock on his face as he stares between his locked door and me, totally speechless. I just brush it off as a simple trick and ask him where the card is. He quickly pulls a black card from his pocket, offering it with both hands. He says there is 32 million won on it, with the extra 2 million as a thank you for saving his skin earlier. I stare at this surprisingly polite guy, take the payment, and tell him straight up to say what he actually wants, because I really do not have time to beat around the bush. I scouted the property earlier and found absolutely no traps or hidden guards, which is pretty suspicious. When a guy is being this cooperative, there is almost always a crooked angle underneath. Handing over an extra 2 million won basically proves he wants a favor. He laughs nervously and admits he has a small favor to ask. The second he starts hesitating, I immediately stand up to leave, causing him to dive forward and grab my leg. Desperately, he begs to follow me, practically crying that he just wants to cling to my side like a loyal sidekick. I shut him down instantly. I do not do teams. If that is what he is trying to get at, then our business here is completely over. Teaming up is out of the question in this lifetime, or any other life after. He panics and backpedals, explaining he does not mean a formal team, just that if we happen to bump into each other during missions, I could just protect him a bit, adding that I never have to stress over keeping him alive if things get too dangerous. And back in the real world, he says I can use his wealth and powerful connections to take care of any troublesome errands for me. I narrow my eyes. Pretty smart, this guy. No matter how he phrases it, looking out for him is still helping him. Once we get familiar, if he lands in deep danger, would I really be able to just stand there and watch him die? Plus, those real-world ties are always messy. As soon as I get used to him handling my dirty work, I wouldn't let him die easily. That is his entire strategy. He wants to give first, build up some loyalty, and slowly play the emotional card. It is a pretty obvious trap, and I can see right through it. Still, the offer is tempting, because having a wealthy subordinate to order around makes life way easier, especially when that guy has tons of cash and a whole army of loyal workers. I stay quiet for a second before nodding. I tell him he's pretty sharp, so those terms work for me. He practically cheers in excitement. Right on cue, a strange wave of energy rolls off me, completely swallowing him. His face freezes, his eyes turn pitch black, and he collapses asleep on the couch. It's my new mind deed, forcing him under. Next, I order him to confess his true feelings about me. You can't read everything off someone's face. My old theories were just theories, and I absolutely need his actual motives. This mind deed easily beats any truth serum. He starts rambling, saying he wanted to align our interests and latch onto a powerful backer. A pretty smart way to survive the early chaos and grow fast. It's normal enough logic, no real fault in that. But then he mutters that down the road, it depends. Cooperate if we get along, and if not, quietly eliminate me. My eyes narrow right away. What a cold, calculated move. I ask him if this was his own grand idea. He admits he decided this after consulting his dad, who gave him 50 million just to recruit powerful allies. I raise an eyebrow and ask where the other 10+ million went. He confesses he pocketed it. That actually gets a laugh out of me, skimming 10 million out of 50 right away. Yep, he's definitely his father's son. I throw a few more questions his way, and he lays everything completely bare. So, do I end him? Surprisingly, I actually don't. Instead, I implant a deep mental command to make him serve me. His real-world status is still pretty useful, and unless his raw mind power ever surpasses mine, he'll never break my absolute control. Down the line, if his stats ever reach 100, I can just apply the exact same mental lock again. The next morning, Peng Ho calls my line. He tells me the new house is completely sorted out. We're talking 300 square meters, a riverside apartment in a luxury complex, fully furnished and newly finished. It's move-in ready with great local amenities. Absolutely matches what I wanted, though the price is at least 8 million. He blurs through all the details at light speed. Tracking down a place was my directive, since my rental lease is up at the end of the month. With the clock ticking and cash ready, I definitely need to pack, but I'm way too busy to handle it, so I dumped the task on my brand new subordinate. I expected to wait days, not get results in mere hours. I definitely underestimated the Pang family. 300 square meters for just 8 million. Real estate in Haesong City is pretty expensive, and even with the market crashing right now, values haven't dropped this low. A massive place like this usually runs at least 10 million. Can 8 even be real? The caller explains it's a project co-owned by his family. A luxury home that normally sells for 12 million got knocked down to 8 just because he pulled strings. But I have to pay the entire amount up front. He mentions that if we weren't in a rush, a family-owned project would deliver soon, and I'd get it completely free. He'd basically just gift me a flat. It all makes sense now. I brush off his rambling since waiting months is out of the question, and ask if I can go take a look right now. He says absolutely, so I tell him to send over the address so I can head there immediately. 30 minutes later, I arrive. 4 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. Just the main master suite alone spans almost 100 square meters. It's a clean, minimalist style that fits my taste perfectly. Huge balcony, stunning river view, and tons of natural light flooding the entire place. Definitely worth over 10 million. After looking around, I buy the place outright with full cash on the spot. By the afternoon, the keys indeed are mine. I call my old landlord to cancel the lease, pack up, and head out. Just like that, I'm officially moved into my new luxury flat. Sitting down with some takeout, I pull out my phone to browse the web. Exactly like my past life, the top 50 trending topics are dominated by crazy news reports. Naturally, that Yongguan zombie video is sitting at the #1 spot. The government actually released it, realizing transparency is better than a cover-up. The truth would emerge eventually, and dropping it early forces the public to wake up. It forces everyone to take the killing space seriously, grinding for raw power now, instead of panicking when the world officially goes to hell. Honestly, dropping early warnings to test the waters is a pretty smart move. The second trend is a famous 5-star resort, suddenly wrapped in toxic fog just like Yongguan. Authorities are already warning it's likely a precursor to monster invasions. Meanwhile, the third trend exposes energy pearls, kicked off by some wealthy trust fund kid who used his connections to buy up pearls for 100,000 won each, starting a massive frenzy. The comments are filled with desperate buyers, with bids matching 3 million won per pearl. I scroll down the list. Everything is exactly as I remembered from my past life, until I hit the 10th spot. The headline reads that the top-ranked player on the Killing Space leaderboard is revealing his face live at 7 tonight. I freeze. What is this? I'm supposed to be going live, yet I had absolutely no idea. Then it hits me some fake is impersonating me. I check the clock 10 past 7. It already started. I click on the stream, sliding into the broadcast to see who's trying to ride my coattails. Right on screen, There is this jacked guy wearing sunglasses, a face mask, and a tight tank top, preaching that higher scores mean slaughtering more monsters, babbling on about ratings and system rewards. Honestly, he acts tough enough to trick any average viewer, looking like a real veteran survivor. But then his whole tone shifts. To get a high rank like him, he says your body has to be strong. Before entering the killing space, he claims he was a personal fitness coach. Alongside his workouts, he took this special nutrition powder, nearly 100 essential nutrients, vitamins, and minerals, to build a powerful body. And today, he is pouring his heart out, holding absolutely nothing back. 10,000 cans ready, marked down from 999 to just 299. Link in description. My mouth twitches. Figures. Even the literal apocalypse ends in a cheap sales pitch. Right then, loud knocking interrupts the stream. The big guy instantly asks who is there, and a cold voice outside announces a routine check, ordering him to open the door immediately. He instantly freezes, sheer panic leaking onto the camera, before stupidly blurting out that nobody is home. Wait, what does he mean nobody's home? Did eating all that fake workout powder rot his brain? Then boom! A massive crash echoes as the front door gets kicked off its hinges. A squad of heavily armed officers floods the screen, slamming him to the floor in a split second. An officer demands if his real name is Huang Du, mocking that the top ranker was never named Huang. That single line completely breaks him. He collapses, weeping, and confesses to the entire fraud right on live television. Just 4 simple words blinded by greed. As they drag him away, I close the tab. What a complete joke. My spot at the absolute top of the rankings is not something some random clown can just hijack. Over the next few days, I prepare for the next round. I give Pang Ho strict orders to monitor the airport, telling me the exact second Joe Tae of the Joe Group returns to the country. From what I recall, that traitor should be landing very soon. The exact hour is a mystery, but definitely before this upcoming third space ends. Keeping watch is crucial. It is time to settle some debts. Days slip by. Soon enough, the 10th day arrives, and I am completely prepared. Every single entry point I amassed over these past 10 days is funneled straight into ice manipulation and dimensional space. My ice skill upgrades to a purple tier. The cold drops drastically, hitting minus 160 degrees, exactly meeting my lowest requirement. Even if it had fell short, my hands were tied. Moving from purple to red takes 8 whole points, and I just do not have them yet. So, to boost my frost power indirectly, I invest in my dimensional space, aiming to stockpile massive amounts of water. That way, when facing metal armies, I can drown and freeze them all instantly. A total bloodbath. My pocket dimension ranks up from blue to purple. 4 points well spent, pushing the base to 30 cubic meters, adding 30 more for every 10 points of spirit. And since my spirit is sitting at exactly 100, the space expands by 300 cubic meters, completely flooded and ready. I am just waiting for the next big fight. I keep 2 entry points in reserve. The only thing lingering on my mind is the absolute silence regarding Joe Tae, but there is nothing I can do now but wait. The system screen flashes, asking if I am ready to enter the third killing space. Without a second thought, I click yes, and vanish in gold light. The system welcomes me, displaying the new rules, and things are getting tougher. 3 days of survival, only 1 minute of prep. The danger window widens while prep time shrinks. This is literally the final time the space gives me any prep time, because on the 4th round, I will be fighting the exact second I land. With the clock ticking down, I quickly scan my surroundings. It is a cramped, messy room, absolutely filthy like nobody cleaned it in a decade. Rusted cans and broken jars cover the floor. A massive glass observation window lines one wall. Looking through, I can see the entire outside, a decaying wasteland of piled, rusted scrap metal. The window looks straight out at the main factory gate. Beyond it, harsh sunlight and dry wind kick up thick clouds of yellow dust. It is a completely abandoned industrial plant. Suddenly, the countdown hits 0, and the day's main objective drop survive the relentless pursuit of the T-800 Hunter robot. No time to think, because the prompt barely vanishes before heavy, metallic footsteps begin echoing outside the factory gates. A silver-white metallic skeleton clutching a massive Gatling gun, glowing red optical sensors whirring as it scans the dark, pure futuristic menace radiating off its frame. The bare metal T-800 steps forward, immediately scanning every corner of the crumbling factory floor. Within just 2 seconds, those red sensors lock onto me behind the glass. It raises its weapon and fires without a single pause. The brutal spray shredding the glass to pieces as it advances with the cold, flat cruelty of a killing machine. Marching straight up to the barricaded room, it kicks the door off its hinges, steps inside, and finally lets the heavy barrels spin down. Staring at the empty room, the robot's red sensors sweep the area, searching for hidden escape hatches or secret crawl spaces, finding absolutely nothing out of place. The machine tilts its heavy metal head, and if it actually had a face, it would be wearing a look of pure, baffled confusion. Suddenly, it senses my presence and spins around fast, but a freezing blue light has already settled right onto its chest. 2 seconds. The entire steel frame freezes solid, and I quietly step out from a dark corner of the factory. I slipped out earlier using Earth Escape, then I locked it down with Frost Entanglement. Looking at the frozen hunk of metal, a golden light wakes in my eyes as I scan its helpless, icy frame. A blue stats panel resolves under the golden glow of my Eye of Insight. It identifies the target as a T-800 combat robot at the early 2-star stage. The bot has only 2 features, machine thinking in blue and mechanical heart in purple. Machine thinking strips away all human emotion, allowing the user to solve critical problems with pure, machine-like rationality. A mechanical heart makes my mind totally immune to control. My face twitches. I figured a robot might be light on traits because human creators are stingy, but just 2? Honestly, that's pretty disappointing. Well, something is better than nothing, and neither of these is trash. My laser blade crackles to life, slicing right through its frozen neck. The tough alloy resists, but the head pops off. A kill notification pops up, granting me 1 point of killing value for this T-800. It also announces that my first machine kill has unlocked the global chat, the public platform, and the trading network. Looking over at the chat feed, there isn't a single message scrolling by. I ignore it immediately. The point payout is seriously shrinking this time. A same-level kill usually rewards 4 points, but I only got a measly quarter of that. It fits the rules, though. In this system, defeating a monster of your own rank pays normal value. Taking out higher ranks pays double for 1 tier up, and quadruple for 2. But if the survivor outranks the monster, the points are halved for 1 level difference, and slashed to a 4th for 2. A 2-star T-800 defeated by a matching 2-star survivor pays out 4 points, but a 1-star survivor gets 8, and an unranked survivor gets 16. On paper, high-ranking players seem totally cheated, but they really aren't. Stronger fighters clear waves faster and secure better card drops. Each card is worth a solid 100 points, making them the real income for high tiers, while basic kills are just pocket change. My first 2 runs proved exactly that. Trading those cards blows away anything I scavenge from dead bodies. No worries. I would rather focus on gaining absolute power, the kind of strength to walk right into a horde and emerge unscathed. If I slay enough monsters, those points will stack up anyway, and I still get to keep their raw skills. The system alerts me that the first day's basic mission is complete, dropping another 100 points straight into my balance. Reaching out, I harvest the 2 traits left behind by the dead machine, eager to get started. The very second I absorb machine thinking, I put it to the test. Instantly, every trace of human emotion drains from my body, leaving behind nothing but cold logic. No desires, no impulses, not a single emotional ripple. My mind immediately discards any senses it deems unnecessary. Pain, touch, taste, and even the rhythmic thumping of my own heartbeat are completely gone. I am an emotionless machine. A direct punch right now wouldn't even register as pain. Rather, my brain would calculate the incoming force, predict the catch rate, and weigh the damage. Then I would plan the perfect counterattack, selecting which muscle groups to engage for the ultimate counterblow, all decided in a fraction of a second. Having absolute command over my physical self and my surroundings feels deeply intoxicating, making me hesitate to step away. That is the trap. After 5 minutes, my emotions finally rush back. My heart begins to beat again. I feel human again, but honestly, my back is soaked in cold sweat I didn't even notice forming. This skill has a dark hook to it. While trapped in that state, a dark part of me wanted to stay forever because it keeps me completely safe and perfectly optimized. Giving up that level of absolute control was incredibly hard. In the end, only raw willpower saved me. Right then, I resolved to use this skill with extreme caution. I am a living man, and despite our flaws, humans possess advantages a machine simply cannot replicate. Intuition, fear, happiness, pain, and touch. We built them, not the other way around. Humans are the masters while machines are just tools. I have always believed that. But this cold state of mind isn't totally useless. Practicing under its cold influence could skyrocket my control over raw strength and pure speed. For anything else, I'll use it sparingly. Quick rest done. I stand up and calmly walk out of the abandoned facility. True strength breeds absolute confidence, so I don't fear anything out here, not even a massive horde of these killer bots. I stop at the exit to look outside. Under a scorching sun, the outside world is just a massive wasteland of yellow dirt, dead grass, and shimmering heat waves. The entire landscape is a dull color of dust, giving off an eerie, alien vibe. Looking around, I find a cool, shaded spot, and sit down to wait for my prey to arrive. That is the real beauty of this run. The second I put that robot down, it sent a signal. Now that I am out in the open, those satellites have definitely locked onto my location. So, a steady stream of target practice is coming right to me. No search required. See, this world is an absolute war zone. Humanity lost, machines took over, and now they hunt down survivors everywhere. These combat bots are ridiculously strong, and normal people do not stand a chance. The machine faction has overwhelming numbers, and they totally dominate the tech war. Satellites, drones, they use it all. My only saving grace is that they never invented laser weapons here. They still rely on standard bullets and heavy shells. Plus, there are no crazy wall hacks, thermal imaging, or cheat codes. Otherwise, the survivors would have given up long ago. Within 3 minutes, dark silhouettes sweep across the sky. I know exactly what they are on site. Long-range bombing drones. Since this is a futuristic war zone, these are nothing like the toys back home. Each unit is armed with dual Gatling guns and a grenade launcher, built for precision strikes. They look like miniature fighter jets, but way faster. While they are still far off, the formation locks onto me and opens fire. A heavy wall of lead comes raining down on my position. My eye of insight tells me these are just basic combat drones. No ratings, no special buffs. Nothing special at all. I smirk they brought a Gatling, as if I do not have one. In the next second, an infinite Gatling gun appears in my hands, and I unleash hell straight up at them. Up in the air, they make perfect targets. When two forces clash, the bolder side always wins. Standing my ground against a whole swarm of crossfire is exactly my kind of fun. A little fancy footwork and steady aim, and I crash every single drone. One of them even drops a handy card. Pretty good morning. I sit back to wait, but then a few dark spots appear far away. Wait, I turn my head. Survivors? Out on the wasteland, a man and woman are sprinting for their lives. 2 mechanical hounds are chasing them down. The woman has her long hair up in a ponytail, gripping a 3-foot iron rod as she desperately tells the guy to keep moving. Her ability is almost back, promising she can handle both beasts once it charges, but the man is completely spent. He has nothing left, just panting heavily with a bright red face. His ragged gasps show he is at his limit. Suddenly, a sharp pain stabs his stomach. Legs give out and he crashes down, rolling twice. A cramp. At the absolute worst moment, a cramp. He has no time to recover, spinning around in terror as the faster mechanical dog lunges with its steel jaws wide open. There is no doubt what that bite will do. A broken bone at best, a lost limb at worst. Adrenaline kicks in as he throws his arms up, desperately gripping the dog's head. He holds those teeth back, survival instinct completely taking over. The woman screams his name, calling out to Ye Hong, as a dark blur suddenly tears across the field. Her iron rod slams the dog like a truck, driving deep into its eye socket, sending the machine crashing into the dirt. Circuits snap inside. Sparks fly everywhere. The glowing red eyes flicker and go dark as a white card drops. She managed to save Ye Hong, but a split second later she clutches her head, her body swaying as she stumbles. Still, she forces herself to stand, gasping that there is only one left and they can take it together, but she cannot finish. The second shadow bursts from the dead grass and lunges. Weaponless, she is caught completely off guard and slammed straight to the ground. She barely gets one arm up before those metal teeth clamp down, instantly shattering her bone. Screaming in agony, she wraps her other arm around its head, locking her legs around its body like tree roots. Losing her grip for even a second means the beast will tear her entire arm clean off. Through the blinding pain, she screams to Ye Hong, telling him to take this chance and kill the beast right now. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. The team-up attack she is counting on never happens because Ye Hong is completely silent. Sensing something wrong, she turns to look. Imagine the sheer betrayal here. Her confusion instantly turns to utter despair as she watches the man who supposedly loved her sprint away into the distance. Bitter tears fall. Abandoned? Just like that. For a brief moment, all their sweet memories from the real world flash by, before his fleeing figure shatters them completely. So, this is love. Deep down inside her, a massive, unstoppable rage begins to boil. She could handle him being soft, weak, or totally broke, but never betrayal. She will not die here. Absolutely not. She will survive, hunt him down, and ask him why. What did she not sacrifice for him? What right did he have to abandon her? Under that burning fury, her psychic power comes rushing back in a massive wave. The beast's jaws shred her arm, but its skull suddenly caves in like it just got slammed by a massive hammer, and its broken body flies backward, crashing hard onto the dirty floor. It struggles to stand, shaking its ruined head almost like a desperate human, but that final movement kills it. Sparks fly from its skull, and those red eyes flicker out. Another card floats up 2 kills, 2 drops. Absolutely insane luck. But her body is completely spent, and her eyes roll back as she collapses. The very last thing she spots before passing out is a mysterious guy walking her way. And her final, bitter thought is that she is about to get stripped of everything she has. Walking out from the dry grass, I take my time looting her. 2 cards, water, and a solid DBS shotgun, not a bad haul. Just like that, 200 free points land right in my hands. I glance over at the dead dog, squint, and cast my insight skill straight at the girl. Her name is Han Yu, a 1-star rookie. Her profile lists 2 stealable traits, potential burst, and a purple metal control skill. That burst skill lets her tap into insane strength during a crisis, though it leaves her completely drained after. Metal control is a top-tier purple talent. She can bend any metal to her will, meaning she is bound to become a powerhouse if she survives. If only I could steal that power. But looking at her face, wait. She looks incredibly familiar. Did I see her on the news in my past life? Hanyu. Metal control, yes, the disabled beauty. My eyes widen. I actually know this girl, even though she has never met me. See, back in my previous life, I desperately wanted to enter the killing space but was never chosen. Normal people just could not get in. To survive, you only had 3 choices. Buy expensive crystals, risk your life hunting monsters on the front lines, or join the army. Rich kids buy crystals. I had to take the second path. It was dangerous, but I was my own boss. Then, a massive monster ambush nearly wiped out my entire squad, and the one who saved us was Hanyu, sent in as elite backup by the 816 Bureau. Back then, she had short hair and a cold, professional vibe, a deadly soldier who was also absolutely gorgeous. But she only had 1 arm, earning her that nickname. She saved us, kept moving, and that was that. We never met again, but looking at her bleeding arm now, I have to choose, kill or save. Logic says to end her life and steal that metal control skill. With my stats, fighting robots would become a total breeze, but gratitude says otherwise. Save her, pay back that old debt, and clear my conscience, because otherwise I am no better than a wild animal. I already took her cards, and a man needs to have some morals. Let's save her. Besides, with my system, losing 1 purple skill is not a big deal. I carry her inside the factory and get to work. Luckily, I still have some medicine left in my inventory. It is a special healing agent from the first space, forgotten in a corner because I outgrew it long ago, and it finally comes in handy. I stop the bleeding, but a sudden noise outside makes me freeze and step out. A brief echo of gunfire rings out. 3 minutes later, I stroll back inside with 1 more kill point on my scoreboard. Back to her arm. The bone is fractured, not shattered, which is the only reason I can save it. I align the break, slice a metal plate with my laser knife, and secure it tightly against her bone. I patched up enough wounds in my past life for this to be a walk in the park. As I pack my gear, I call her out without turning around. Stop pretending. Your twitching eyelashes gave you away. If she is awake, she might as well look at me because I have questions. Hanyu slowly blinks, looks at her bandaged arm, and softly whispers her thanks. I tell her to speak her mind freely. I pack the last of my things and ask her if she knew that guy from before. What was he to her? The question completely catches her off guard, and her face turns bright red as she realizes my meaning. And she mumbles that yes, he is her real-world boyfriend, Ye Bong. But now her teeth clench in sudden anger. Now he is nothing but an enemy. I nod and ask if they just randomly bumped into each other. You see, this is where things get really suspicious. 2 people from the same world, let alone a couple, landing in the exact same zone? The odds of that are practically 0. This is only the 3rd season of the Killing Space, a beginner trial, and team-up items are not even in the shop yet. So without those cards, how on earth did they spawn right next to each other? She admits it was not luck. They used a special mother-child teleport stone, holding 1 red gem each, and no matter where they spawn, activating the stone instantly teleports the user right to the other person's side, a single-use item that completely shatters after you use it. So that is it. I heard rumors in my past life, but never expected anyone to score one this early. Unlike standard team-up cards, mother-child stones are incredibly rare. A team-up card just builds a squad with its own private channel, revealing your squad on the map. but you still spawn at random points with a spread cap of 10 kilometers. Meanwhile, the mother-child stone lands you right next to the user, and that difference is everything. You can easily buy team-up cards in the shop for 200 killing value per squad, but mother-child stones cannot be bought at all. They only drop from monsters in metaphysical dimensions, specifically zombie and ghost zones. A machine world like this never drops them, so Hanyu got extremely lucky. I nod, calmly letting her know my questions are answered and she can leave. She completely freezes. Kicking her out this fast, I ask why she looks so confused. Did she plan on moving in? She shakes her head quickly, asking in a quiet whisper if I need her to do anything since I saved her. With a hint of amusement, I ask if she wants to offer herself up or act as my servant. No, she stammers. It is just, and her voice trails off. I finish the thought for her. She wants to repay me, but the 2 cards she dropped from those dogs already squared our debt. We are completely even. That statement is meant for the girl standing here, and the Hanyu from my past life. I patched up her wounds, but I have absolutely zero interest in getting tangled up with her. Teaming up or traveling together is totally out of the question. She stares at me in silence, then softly whispers another thank you. I toss her some iodine to make it clear she needs to leave. It is not safe here. The machine army is definitely on its way by now. Sensing my cold distance, she bites her lip, nods, and slowly stands up to leave. She knows her limits. She holds some value, but she knows she is not precious gold everyone has to love, and she holds no grudges about leaving. We are total strangers. Saving her and setting her arm was already a miracle. Without my help, that limb would have rotted from a nasty infection. Where she stands now is pure luck. Mixed emotions swirl inside her. A random stranger helped her, while her own boyfriend abandoned her. Outside, she spots several headless machines on the ground. Every single metallic body is covered in thick frost. She stands completely stunned. These frames are way weaker than the mechanical dogs that almost killed her. Yet one man wiped them all out despite their heavy firepower and overwhelming numbers. Could he be one of those powerhouses on the global ranking list? Shaking, she takes a deep breath and stumbles down the main road instead of wandering aimlessly. Figuring she is on the outskirts, this road should lead to a city, with abandoned cars along the way that might hold supplies. She quickly finds bottled water and chocolate inside a ruined RV. Then, she hears an engine. Peering out the front window, she sees several massive trucks rolling down the road. Her face lights up. Survivors? But her smile completely dies as she looks closer. Yep, those are actually killer machines. The drivers are exposed metal skeletons, proving these are robot transports. No sane human survivor would dare drive out in the open like this. She ducks down instantly, hiding as the massive trucks rumble past her hiding spot. Covered in cold sweat and thanking her lucky stars, she did not step out onto the road. The truck beds are packed with silver humanoid machines, their glowing electronic eyes radiating an aura so terrifying she barely dares to breathe. If they spot her, she is dead before she even realizes it. The convoy drives past, and she finally lets out her breath. Then she realizes, where are those machines heading? To that man. The trucks are heading exactly where she came from. Are they going straight for his factory hideout? And the way he was so eager to kick her out, did he already know this was coming? Wild scenarios run through her head, forcing her to turn back. But suddenly, the RV door is kicked open. 2 T-800 robots stand there, and absolute helplessness washes over her. 10 minutes later, right outside the factory, I pocket 3 new cards and start calculating the time. This robot world is not working out. Their deployment speed is way too slow. At this rate, I would literally starve to death waiting for scraps. This latest batch of over 100 machines took 20 full minutes just to arrive. For normal survivors, 20 minutes is a quick escape. But for me, it is pure agony. So, I decide to stop waiting like prey. Time to hunt. I will head into a nearby city, find a military factory, camp outside, and slaughter them as they roll off the assembly line. Perfect. A car materializes right in front of me, the perpetual motion solar car. I stashed away in my storage space, out for its very first run. I bypassed the amphibious motorcycle because the desert sand is just too heavy, and I have zero desire to arrive caked in dirt. In this heat and terrain, a car is just better. Get in, hit the ignition, and roll out. In one smooth motion, both man and machine blur down the highway. Nearby, under the shade of a massive tree, 3 survivors are resting, 2 guys and a girl. The girl is wearing denim shorts, ankle boots, and a crop top. She is young, drop-dead gorgeous, and flaunts her long legs and slim waist without hesitation. She might be a bit flat-chested, but it does not hurt her look at all. One guy offers her a half-filled water bottle he just gathered, urging her to drink. Jang Sayul immediately showers him with praise. Her voice is pure honey. making any man want to protect her. She coos to Yu Jianbong about how amazing and reliable he is. He just scratches his head with a goofy grin, blushing as he stammers that it is nothing, saying his power was just ready, clearly floating on her compliments. But the other guy is not happy at all. He rummages through his pockets, pulls out their very last piece of chocolate, and hesitantly offers it to Jang Se-yul as a grand gesture. She softly asks what Huang Gang will eat, but he insists he is not hungry at all, pressing the chocolate right into her palm. Acting deeply touched, she tells him how incredibly sweet he is, sending his face bright red as he stammers out a reply. Eager to impress, he scrambles up the tree to keep watch, raising his binoculars to his eyes and scanning the vast, empty wasteland. Seriously, anyone watching this would immediately call them out absolute, shameless simps, the both of them. Jang Se-yul beams, thanking them again and promising to repay them later, while the guys smugly brush it off as nothing. They proudly declare that protecting a lady is their duty as men, exchanging satisfied looks that make all their sacrifices feel worth it. She flashes a brilliant smile back, but deep in her eyes lies absolute, hidden disgust. Suddenly, Huang Gang freezes in the tree, shouting down that a car is coming right toward them. Is it a robot? Yu Jianbong asks nervously, since they have seen other vehicles before. Earlier, they spotted giant trucks and only survived by hiding because of their spyglasses. Huang Gang squints through the lens and shouts out once more. He is absolutely thrilled to see a real man driving inside an actual human, not some robot. Below, the other two freeze, then completely light up. Jang Se-yul immediately leaps to her feet. When she speaks, her sweet, delicate act vanishes, replaced by a harsh, demanding order. Snapping at them to stop standing around, she orders them to block the car immediately. Shouting to block it, they all sprint onto the asphalt. Meanwhile, inside my vehicle, I am kicked back in total comfort on autopilot. With the air conditioning blasted, cool air floods the cabin, keeping the intense heat away. Sipping an ice-cold cola in my hand, that sweet carbonation rushes down, total bliss. Suddenly, the car slows down and comes to a halt. Frowning, I sit up to find three figures standing directly in my way. My autopilot stopped because it detected pedestrians. Immediately, one of them rushes over and begins tapping impatiently on my driver's side glass. I have no intention of lowering the window, simply waving my hand to tell him to beat it. Confused, he glances back at his female leader. Seeing that I absolutely refuse to budge, Jang Se-yul quickly orders the other guy to stand directly in front of my bumper, preventing me from driving off. Then, she pushes her lackey aside, plasters on a sweet smile, and taps the glass herself, begging this handsome driver for a ride. Her sweet voice muffles through the glass as she leans in close, purposefully flashing a generous view of her chest to seduce me. My eyes narrow as she speaks, feeling a strange ripple reaching out toward me. Did you catch that? Even if it felt like a passing breeze, I am certain it was not my imagination. Golden light fills my eyes. Jang Se-yul, 1-star early stage, blue charm skill. She actually tried to charm me. The reason it failed so miserably is definitely the massive gap between our mental stats. I scan the others. The guy blocking my front bumper is Yu Jianbong, a simple water attribute user. The final guy is Huang Gang unrated, with survival mastery. He is probably just an outdoorsman from the old world, nothing more. Getting zero reaction outside, Jang Se-yul grows uneasy. Why did her charm fail? Did that dark tint block her skill? Refusing to quit, she asks once again. Chilled air rushes out, instantly refreshing her sticky face. When she finally sees me clearly, her legs squeeze together tightly. He is stunningly handsome, completely her type. Because of the tinted film and glare, she had no idea what he looked like. Her eyes drop to my cold cola, and she is completely stunned, truly ice cold. She swallows hard, stunned that anyone is living so comfortably while she is drenched in sweat, sticky, and completely filthy. All her distractions shrink down to a single desire: get inside that vehicle. She has to get in. She desperately wants the cold air and a soda, too. Even if it means having to swallow a hot meal, she is completely down for it. She bends over again, showing off her curves while using her charm skill to beg for a ride. But while she is busy imagining that sweet, cold air on her skin, and watch this talk about a reality check, a dark barrel thrusts from the window, presses to her forehead, and shoves her back with a desert eagle. I coldly tell her to get lost. Cold sweat rolls down her face, but she still cannot accept this reality. How could her charm fail? That is impossible. Even if this guy preferred men, she was confident she could flip him. So, what is she supposed to do now? Give up on the freezing air and that soda? No way, she refuses to back down. Instead, she pours out her charm with everything she has left. lacing her voice with hypnotic power this time. Confident she will win, she starts coaxing me, calling me little brother, but a single shot cuts her off. A bloody hole opens in her forehead. The back of her head bursts open, spraying blood straight onto Huang Gang beside her. Her dying eyes are filled with pure disbelief, because a man who shoots without warning was never in her calculations. She collapses to the dirt, dead. My gaze remains entirely cold. I warned them, and if they still chose to run headfirst into death, that is not my problem. I look over at Huang Gang, who is just standing there like an idiot, his face painted in blood and his mind totally blank. Then Jianbong finally screaming that I killed Jiang Sol and deserve to rot in hell. Instantly, an arrow made of water forms from thin air and streaks straight toward me in the driver's seat. It hits the windshield with a soft thud. The glass remains completely undamaged as the arrow splatters into a harmless puddle. The automatic wipers kick on, clearing the water in a single sweep. He gapes in sheer shock, realizing the glass is bulletproof. My gaze turns icy. I switch to manual and floor it. Jianbong is dragged right under the car, shrieking about his legs before the screaming abruptly stops.